the people, especially musicians and artists and stuff, when they die, they get either they get all the fault or they get all the recognition.
Yeah.
So I read people on the internet saying something like Euronymous wrote everything, and after he died, they should have quit. It was the opposite, actually. I wrote the whole thing. All the lyrics, most of the music and shit, Death Crush, Pure Fucking Armageddon, everything. Half of the Mysterious record, actually, too. Until that fucker took fucking photos of the corpse of my friend after he killed himself. Now, that was the thing. That's where it went to fuck.
Greetings, Legion. Welcome to episode 246 of Enter the Necrosphere. My guest this week requires absolutely no introduction. His friends and family know him as Yorn. You can call him Necrobutcher, the bassist for Mayhem. Arguably the most influential black metal band in the history of the scene, and our conversation, I believe, lived up to that billing. We spoke about everything, including Mayhem's 40th anniversary tour, Euronymous, the band's creative process. We even shared notes on some of our favorite bands outside of the scene. A couple of things that Necrobutcher really enjoys listening to that I think will surprise a couple of you. But they always say don't meet your heroes, and I can tell you in this instance, the man absolutely did not disappoint. That conversation is going to be coming your way very shortly. But before we get to that, we have us a premiere on the Sphere. Burial are a black metal band out of the UK who put out the very well-received record Satanic Upheaval back in 2020. Their brand new album is called Rejoice in Sin. It drops on November the 15th. It will be released by our close allies, Apocalyptic Witchcraft Records. And for the first time ever, the Legion will get to hear their brand new single. This is called Putrid Grave. You just got a taste of the upcoming Burial album. That album is going to be called Rejoice in Sin. The track was Putrid Grave. It is released on November the 15th by our allies, our close partners and collaborators, Apocalyptic Witchcraft Records. Just a shout out to them because they have supported this podcast literally from day one. So anytime that they are releasing something, first of all, it's an immediate mark of quality. Secondly, I'm always going to give them the time of day. But either way, you need to go to the Burial Bandcamp. If you can place a pre-order, do so. Let the Burial boys know who sent you. And if you are in an unsigned or an independent band in particular, and you have just invested your last penny in a world-class recording that you simply can't wait to share with the rest of the world, then drop me a line on intothenecrosphere@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me via Instagram or Facebook. Send me your music, and if I like what I hear, then I will feature it on the show. I got a bit of a backlog, so I'm not going to play it straight away, most likely, but if I like it, like I said, you're not going to be ignored. I will play it at some point. Just don't make the mistake that some have made, which is to send me their Bandcamp link and then expect me to pay for whatever track they want me to feature on the show, as though it is my privilege to share your music with my audience. I've had a couple of people that have done that recently, and I mean, it's not cool. It's fucking annoying, and I'm just going to feature your band whatsoever. If that's the way that you play the game. However, I'll tell you who plays the game like absolute fucking pros. My fellow horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse. We kick off your week every Monday with a brand new episode of Horror Wolf 666. On a Tuesday, yours truly is on hand to cast hexes and slay posers. I have got two bona fide poser slayers coming up in the next 2 weeks, next week Tuesday. I've got Simon Lucas, the drummer for Winterfilleth, and then the week after, I've got Joseph Deegan of Slideer and Verminous Serpent, recording or presenting to the world what I believe is his first ever long-form conversation. He and I talked up an absolute storm. I also have in the pipeline a conversation with my good friend Brock Van Dyke of Panzerfaust. Panzerfaust have their brand new album coming out towards the end of November. They're also going to be in London on the 26th of November. So I plan to be at that show, and I plan on the day to be recording a face-to-face conversation with Brock. We've already agreed it. Hopefully their schedule aligns and there's no unforeseen hiccups along the way, but I think it'll be really nice to have a face-to-face chat recorded as a means to cap off what has been a really tremendous year for this podcast. So that's coming your way in the not-too-distant future. I've got a bunch of other things going as well. I'll announce those when I have them in the can, but I said it a second ago, but what an incredible year 2024 has been for this podcast, and it is largely thanks to the undying support of the Legion, so you truly have my appreciation and my gratitude. Moving on with our Horsemen scheduling on a Wednesday, we've got Mike Hill, Sensei Mike Hill, of the bands Tombs and Scorpion Throne coming your way with another installment of Everything Went Black. We double up your pleasure every other Wednesday when Cheyenne of the band Trivax unleashes another episode of Iblis Manifestations. He actually dropped his Necrobutcher episode last week. So in the space of a fortnight, you are able to hear two very in-depth, long-form, and quite different conversations with an absolute legend like Necrobutcher. So where else will you get to do that but in the company of the Horsemen? On a Thursday, we have one of my favorite podcasts of the week. When Sensei Mike Hill returns, he is joined by his co-hosts, Sheriff Mike Scondado and Professor Jeff Kashid. Together, they deploy a new edition of Necromaniacs, where they review old and new horror movies, and that's a perfect way to get your agenda, your schedule set up for the weekend. So make sure you don't miss that one. It's certainly a podcast that I never miss. And then another one I always make a point to listen to is the Sinister Minister, the Reverend Carl Haikara, no stranger to Into the Necrosphere, many times over News Rant co-host, and he does a curated journey through the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric with his podcast Soul Knocks. And like I said, new episodes of that show every Thursday and every Sunday. I mentioned the news rant a second ago. When I am done talking to Necrobutcher, don't go anywhere, because because Drugoth is back this week by popular demand, I should add. And he and I are going to be listening to new tracks by Aara, Panzerfaust. We even checked out a new tune by Striper. So lots to talk about. A lot of new singles to round up for Judgment. That's coming your way later on in the show. But first, sit back and enjoy the next 2 hours in the company of an icon, a legend, and as it turned out, an absolutely sensational guy. This is Necrobutcher of Mayhem.
But so I think you're gonna be hostile, or is this a hostile interview, or since you asked it like that?
It most definitely is not. No, no. I mean, I don't think anyone who listens to and watches the podcast knows I probably reference Mayhem at least 2 or 3 times per episode. So there's definitely nothing hostile about this.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I wanted to mention to you before we get started about anything related to Mayhem, I recently rewatched your What's in My Bag episode that you did on Amoeba on the YouTube channel. And I was reminded how eclectic your taste in music is. I loved it. You've got Depeche Mode on there. You've got the Beastie Boys, which that was the real surprise. Ministry, Rolling Stones, and that Rolling Stones song that you love so much happens to be one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs as well. And for the exact same reason that you mentioned, the opening guitar, I just think is absolutely, that to me is just peak Rolling Stones. I love it.
It's very moving. For some reason, it touched me.
Yeah. It's a masterclass in how you can convey a very emotive message musically with very few notes. Like just allowing space at the right time, just allowing a pause at the right time. It's absolutely it's an absolutely incredible lesson in nuance, I think.
There is a lot of things to it, but it's something with it that just grabs you immediately, and I'm glad that to hear that you had the same feeling when you heard that track. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised to hear that other people say the same thing, because why would it come to me? I mean, I'm just I'm not an expert per se. I'm a musician, but it's music is very individually. It's very individual thing. So, but there is some things which is universal, and I guess that that opening of that song, that is something that which is a lot more like a universal language in music, I think. But it's also, but I have, I am also, let's say that, somewhat emotionally attached to that song, and particularly Rolling Stones from that time, because I grew up listening to this music with my uncles.
I was going to ask you, what were your earliest musical memories? Because when you talk about the Cult and you talk about Depeche Mode and Rolling Stones, those were some of my earliest. I mean, I would say Depeche Mode, actually, I go back and think about how my taste in music progressed. Shake the Disease by Depeche Mode was the first song that I ever heard, and I was about 5-6 years old. And that I loved so much, I would repeat it to myself over and over and over again, because I didn't have a cassette, or I didn't have the record. But I didn't want to. I loved the song so much, I didn't want to forget what it sounded like. But again, I was interested to see, like, when you were talking about your musical background, when we're talking about things that are outside of metal, it's not the usual Slayer and stuff like that. But there's quite a bit of overlap there.
Yeah. See, when I grew up, like, I was born in '68, so my first memories of music was the Rolling Stones, basically, and I think I learned English through Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, because I learned the lyrics before I even knew what they meant. And I guess that what I'm trying to say is there was bands coming up in the 70s like Kiss and some kind of like a little bit more rougher metal, like rock, Status Quo, 10cc, you know. And then you had some bands like the Eagles and, you know, even Jimi Hendrix, you know, had some roughness to it that I liked. But I never got into Kiss.
I was going to ask you about that actually, because there are two
Or
bands.
I was never into Elvis, first of all,
Yeah.
because I thought the Stones guys were much cooler than that guy. And then when Kiss came along in 75-ish, I didn't like it. I thought that because of Paul Stanley, I think that he sings like I don't like his vocals. I like Gene Simmons' vocals better, but of course,
Yeah.
Stanley is the vocalist. And Keith Richards, for example, is much more heavy, like whiskey voice, and you know. So I hold on to Stones even when the first wave of metal came in. But I started to, you know, when AC/DC came on board, there was Iron Maiden, there was Judas Priest, and then I heard AC/DC, and I knew that that was kind of more my thing. Then I heard Motorhead, and of course I understood everything. You know, like that was the Ace of Spades album, by the way, 1980. Or was it 79?
I think it was 1980. It's the year I was born.
Yeah. So I was 12. I already had started. That's when we started the band, me and Mannheim, under another name. We didn't come up with the Mayhem name before 4 years later. But so when we started to play some Motorhead covers, basically, and Black Sabbath covers before we started to create our own music. So, you know, it was Stones, and then I jumped over all the Kiss and all these people, and then I went straight to Motorhead. And then big fan of Motorhead, obviously, and then I heard Venom, and they took it one step further. And yeah, so it was kind of, they let up, it was kind of the music map. Like I like the rougher Stones tracks, the stuff that Keith sang, and then I, you know, immersed into Motorhead and Lemmy, and then Kronos and Venom. But at the same time, but that was the music we, you know, got fired most up on, and that was the music we loved to play, and that was the music that came out of us when we made music ourselves. But but meanwhile, there's shitloads of other type of music. And like I said, like when I was at that Amoeba record store, first of all, I wasn't there to do that bag, both in my bag thing. I was there to sign some books. I have written a book about 10 years ago called The Death Archives. So I was there signing the book, and then we were in San Francisco because we had a show with Mayhem. So I was just up there, you know, in between before the show. And then after I did that, somebody said, "Oh, you want to pick some albums, you know, as a thank you for coming here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then they said, "Well, we'll film you, and then you will tell us. You can tell us why you picked these albums." And I'm like, "Oh, all right." I didn't know that it was called Both in My Bag or anything. So I turn around and I look into this enormous place. It's thousands, hundreds, millions of records and and CDs. Where to start, right? So I just walked down the first aisle, and then I just saw some familiar tags coming up like Depeche Mode and shit like that. So I just, it turned out that all of those CDs were used. The used CDs was not even. I was in the used section, but yeah, that doesn't matter. They all worked, and but so I mean, it was like it was very random. If you can, like any aisle I have been gone down to, I would have gone like 2 meters, and I would already got my 10 CDs. So it was like that I went that way, which is like very coincident, and then obviously I just picked up what I saw, and then told the truth. Like with the Police album there, I actually have it only on cassette. Never had it on vinyl or CD or anything. So and yeah. So basically, it was like the Cult. And all of those. The only one that was really, actually, the ones that was really something behind. Also, I mean, I love In Excess, so that was a cool thing. But the more me, if I was walking around there for hours, then it would be that Stones thing. Because I've been looking for that record actually for a long time.
Metamorphosis.
Yes, I didn't have that. Actually, I had that also on cassette, to tell you the truth. But it's been eaten up by bad tape players. So that was that. And I think the reason why I got into Beastie Boys, the rhythm, the rhythm section, like the last albums they did, there wasn't any vocals on them. It was just instrumental, and that's good enough because it's so fucking good. The jam sessions they have, they can use. When I listen to Ill Communication or the Mix Up or some of this other instrumental, I can visualize it because on the albums they thank the carpenter that built the studio for them, because they have home studios, so they have carpenters coming to their houses in apartments in Manhattan or wherever, built the home studio. And a studio has to have this special angles and whatnots to capture the sound in the right way. So it's more like so I got it. So when I'm picturing my head when I'm listening to this Ill Communication and stuff is basically, and that's what they do too. They invited some friends, and they're jamming out in the studio in their house, smoking joints, having fun, and then recording, and then listen back to the tape. I'm like, okay, we can use this, we can use that, So much of it is like you can hear that it's so true, because you can hear even the wrong. Sometimes they come in a little bit late, too early, and then as they do, and I'm a musician myself, so I'm also sometimes like we are improvising, and it goes well for a while, and then you run out of ideas, and then you make a couple of wrong notes. Now I recognize that many places in the Beastie Boys work. And that's when they cut the song. Okay, now that jam is over. They took it as far as they could. Okay, so, but it's so liberating for a musician to listen to some people just jamming away, because it's so obvious and clear that this is a jam. They might have an idea of the theme or something, but listening to it, it's a jam. So it tells so much more about the musicians I mean, something you can you can make a riff and then like build on it and then introduce it to the other musicians, and then you start to rehearse on it, and then you record. Here is the other way around. You just have some theme and you start to go on and you just feel it. And I can even see when the people change, like from up and down or back and forward on the fretboard, for example, that you can almost feel that they are looking at each other like 1, 2, 3. If you know what I mean. So it's many reasons why I love this band. First of all, the music is so great. It gets you on your feet. It's like it's funky. And I mean, maybe it's wrong for a metal guy like me to talk about funk, but it's I mean, for me, I love to listen to a good slap hand bass. Just by itself, like some funkadelic, like that's great for me to listen to. Maybe because my bizarre, like that I'm, if you know, also for a musician, when you listen to other bands, you tend to listen to your own instrument. You can't help it. You listen to your instrument more than the other ones because you can't help it. And maybe that's also part of it, with Bill Wyman. A lot of that was Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood that plays the bass, actually, on the Stones albums. And then MCA, on bass. Because he's not he is a great bass player, but he's homeschooled. It's weird. His technique is weird, It's something juvenile and rough, and just like the jams,
Yeah.
So it's a lot of talking about Beastie Boys, but yeah.
No, I you know what? As you're saying it, I can kind of draw a line between, I can trace a path from the bands that you mentioned and the bands that you kind of got into as you were growing up as well, because obviously Motorhead, very bass heavy. AC/DC, you've got that really on this, especially on their best records and records like Power Age, you've got that really pronounced Cliff Williams bass line. And even actually Ministry, particularly the Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, and I would say Psalm 69 as well. You've got that like that pulse, that real, like the guitars are kind of almost replicating what the bass is doing, because it's just all about that constant rhythm and that constant groove.
Absolutely. There's also like Rammstein also, in a sense. You has that kind of thing, but the rest is so much in your face that you don't see it. It's like Cliff. It's simple, but if you take it away, the song is destroyed immediately. Like it's the nerve of it doesn't have to be more than that. So
well, I mean, with AC/DC, a lot of people overlook, I think, neophytes to AC/DC overlook how important Malcolm Young and Cliff Williams were. They get very wrapped up in like the legend of Bon Scott, and they get wrapped up in the leads of Angus Young, and both of those things are great. But exactly to what you just said. You take Cliff and Malcolm out of the equation, and there is no AC/DC.
No, absolutely. They have all the musicians today, but obviously plays the songs that these people have made and developed over the years. So. Yeah.
And so now I'm speaking to the bassist of the Rolling Stones of black metal. So I think, firstly, congratulations on your 40th anniversary. You
Thank
you
you.
are now you guys are now officially the first black metal band to hit that milestone, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's true for the Norwegian scene, but I mean, you are forgetting bands like Venom, and they call their music black metal. You have a band from Switzerland called Celtic Frost, Hellhammer also. There were some.
Well, yeah, Hellhammer maybe. When Venom, I actually did contemplate whether or not they've beaten you guys to the punch. The main reason I didn't think about it at first was I wasn't sure you could necessarily class them as active, but then again, actually, I think that's probably up for debate as well. I mean, last album they made was Storm the Gates as Venom, but either way, I mean that's semantics. You guys are the best black metal band to turn 40.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Obviously, yes. No, we were one of the first ones. I would also give a huge credit to Quarton and Bathory. He came out also around the same time as we did. We didn't get our record out before '87. Obviously, when was the debut of Quarton? Was it '84 or was it '85? It all happened at the same time. We were up here in the north, and then in Norway, and then there was Bathory in Sweden. And then it was England, the Venom, and then there was Hellhammer in Switzerland, and there was a band called Bulldozer in Italy. So there was some bands, and they had started in the beginning of the '80s, because otherwise they wouldn't get their record out or their songs out. Then in '84, '85. But it's funny when we're talking about this. So in the beginning, I knew all the bands, by name. We ordered music from the catalogs by name. Like we would look and see, like, for example, Bulldozer came away that way. Voivod was another band I found. It just said thrash metal on the it was a Swedish distribution company called Zip, or the mail order company. I mean, called Zip. They had a lot of unknown bands, and of course this was the debut album of Bulldozer. There was the debut album of Voivod, and so on. So it was impossible to get any of this. There was not import of this. Nobody had any license here or record companies with distribution here, so it was always on import. So it's rare to get. So we found where we could order, where they were quick to get on, and so I guess we had already kind of established ourselves with the direction. We had started to make some songs, Gold, Carnage, and shit like that in between '85 '86, and that was the same time all of these other bands that I just mentioned came out with their debuts. So I liked them, but we didn't copy them. We had already our thing going. That's what I'm trying to say. Try to make a point out of that. We were not very inspired. We just loved it when we heard it. Like, wow, this sounds like us, like, especially with the Bathory thing. Also, the Celtic Frost. I didn't hear this Hellhammer thing before. So the Morbid Tales was the first introduction for me to Hellhammer, to the band. And I was at the record store. There were some record stores that had imports. They imported themselves. It was up to the owner of the shop to see what he was interested in. And every week we'd do the round to the 5-6 record stores in Oslo to see what's up those years. And then when I found this record, I love the album, the Dead Heaven, the Hectagram and shit, So I thought, oh, this looks cool, pictures look cool, put it on. And then I told the guy that he was probably had it on the wrong, that he had to put it on the 45 because it was like so down tuned. That I wasn't ready for it, I don't know what they tuned down in, but it's definitely not E. It's something really like a D or, so they turned it up to 45 and I thought, nah, this can't be right, So it was so heavy that I couldn't even understand it. Really? I mean, I had to turn up to 45 to understand that it was really that fucking heavy, that blew me. And the same with Bathory. The first time I heard them was not on the Goat album. I bought something called Scandinavian Metal Attack. And they had one song on that. And of course, then when I saw the record, of course, I immediately got it. And I got it from the German, a German distributor. And he had the yellow Goat. And that, I think the story is that with the yellow Goat, the Bathory debut album, it is originally white. The Goat is white, but the first 1,000 was yellow, and I think that was meant for the German market, or that was the German. I'm not sure how it was, but there was something with that. But I'm happy that I got it, and I have a text. I have some like texts and stuff in it. And I think that was also very how to say, limited edition. And actually, I got a letter from his dad. Also,
really?
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah,
that's what he calls himself, the boss, Quarton and the boss. But people don't know his boss is dad.
Yeah,
It's his fucking dad.
yeah. When was this?
Beautiful. The letter?
Yeah.
You know what? Let me just quickly dig out this. Let's see if I. Let's see. Oh, it's gonna be. I have it on B. No, I think it's gonna be too much. Yeah. No, it's too much to find this.
No, that's fine.
No,
I was just curious as to did he send it to you? When you were still a young man and you had just bought the Bathory record, or was that later on?
I bought the first record, and then we got anxious about the next record. We wanted it, so I wrote him a letter to order it or something, and I got a message, and I got a letter back from him. And that is stuck in the record, but I don't see it right now. But it's in my shelf.
Awesome.
But
one band you haven't mentioned, by the way, as you were going through those names, Merciful Fate. Was that a band that you were into?
No, the music is great. The text, the lyrics, and all of that was great, and there was nothing like that around. I got the Melissa album. I love that album. I didn't like particularly the vocals. The same reason why I don't like Slayer. I don't like these high C's and stuff. I don't like this pitched up voice. I mean, I like it, but it's not my. I like Lemmy, I like Kronos, I like these kind of guys. I even like Barney, from Napalm. So I'm more like I like the extreme more than that the you know the how would you describe King Diamond's vocals? Because I'm looking for the word.
So I like King Diamond. I'm going to preface it with what I'm going to say now. I would maybe say when he goes high like that, it's a little effeminate.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
that's
with,
what it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
and again, I think I kind
never
of
thought about that
I
way.
dig what you're saying in the sense that a lot of the vocalists you seem to like have a very masculine energy about them when
Yeah,
they're singing. You know,
yeah,
if you could think of the contrast between Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. I mean, Gene Simmons is clearly the
yeah,
dude who's the man's man.
yeah,
You had the same thing with Keith Richards. You know, he had that kind of gruffer, you know, that manly,
yeah,
working man voice.
yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
I'm attracted to a similar style of singing. So I 100% get where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. So I liked everything except the vocals,
Yeah.
and that was too damaging. I mean, so I bought the Don't Break the Oath. I like that. I mean, despite the vocal, same with Slayer. Despite the vocals, I got so much joy listening to the rest of the thing that it combined it was good enough.
Mm.
But my favorite is the first EP that they released, which has that song "Nuns Have No Fun." Everybody thinks that it's called "Nuns Have No Fun," but the record is called something else. But that's the song that kind of sticks out,
Yeah, I
which is
think
a really great.
the EP is just called Merciful Fate. It came out in 1982.
Yeah, maybe that's why yeah, exactly. That's why we don't know the title because it's not titled.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, that. So also there was an other EP called Dark Funeral. That was also great. But after Don't Break the Oath, I don't know, I lost interest. Did they split up then, or did they record more albums?
Yeah, they did split up, and then they got back together again, and they did In the Shadows in 1993, and they did a couple of records in the 90s. And I know there's work on a new one now. I actually saw him a couple of years ago, and he was very, very good. But you know,
Oh
again,
yeah,
I
he's
can
good.
completely see when it comes to his voice, it's an acquired taste, that's for sure.
It is very acquired. Yeah, you're right. Little bit like Halford, you know. It's the like it's so primitive and raw and great, you know, the music.
Mm.
So I can't bear with it. I bear over the fact that I'm not a big fan of Halford's type of style, but I mean the music is so good that it's still good.
Mm. Yeah, no,
So
I definitely agree.
yeah.
Did you ever think, you know, if you go back to those early days, I can't imagine you, if I could go back in time now and tap you on the shoulder, I can't imagine you would say, yeah, I fully expect that in 2024, we're going to be celebrating 40 years of Mayhem. You know, how does it, what are your reflections? How are you feeling about this incredible landmark that you've been able to achieve?
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind when I get this question, because this is a question I get a lot, like, oh, you didn't expect
We have to
this,
do a retake then. I
or
hate. But yeah, no,
huh?
go ahead. No, I
Yeah,
was
no,
kidding
no, no,
around and
no.
saying
I'll tell you. I'll tell you something funny. So, because then I had to start to think about it myself, like, you know, yeah, we're 40 now. I had some similar. I'm just getting some coffee. I had some similar. The thing I want to try to say is that when I start to think about it, when people say, "Oh, you didn't think that when you started that you would get here," but actually, the truth is that I thought that we were gonna make it, and the truth is that I thought we were gonna make it bigger and faster than we did. And that we are 40 now, I mean, it's not a surprise to me because, I already saw it back in 84 that this was it, like Michael Jackson said. Like, this was it. We all knew it. Also, Malnheim didn't know it. Me and Øystein knew it. Malnheim knows it now. So you could say it to him, and that would be the correct, and he would immediately say, yeah, he never knew that this was going to happen. But, and here's the reason why. If you don't believe it yourself, you will never make it. That's it. I believed it myself. I believed it so strong that it manifested. It just, I mean, for me, it's like almost like normal. Like, yeah, we made these songs. They were great. We made some new albums. We built up the thing, and we're still building. Actually, and another question that I get a lot in the same vein is that no, also basically the thing is, as a musician or an artist, as a painter or whatever, you can do something, can record something, you can paint something, and then if you yourself as an artist are happy, like, this is it, this is great, I love this thing, now I put it out to all the people to see. So it's basically that's it. It's a natural progression of building a platform, which is Mayhem, and then taking it around the world. Now we are played in 63 countries, including Norway. It's 63 now. There is not so many Western civilizations that has a metal scene, and we are getting close to get to all of them. I think, like, I have some friends from Sweden in a band called Marduk, and they have played 75 countries. So I met up with the guys and I told them, like, how is this, is this real? Right? And it was. We were just talking to Morgan about that, and it was like, yes, mentioned some weird countries that we hadn't played, and yes, those were the countries, like Vietnam, China, Mongolia, Nepal, Honduras. There were some few countries that they had played that we hadn't played, and I thought we were on top of it. But when I heard that they had done 75, then we know that it's at least 12 more countries that has a scene which is big enough to pay a band a fee, the flights, hotels, and stuff, and it's enough fans to pay for that, like to over, let's say, 250 people or something.
Well, China is quite a thriving scene, and I would expect you guys would be pretty big in China as well. We were supposed to play in China years and years ago, but our government decided to give the peace prize
Nobel Peace Prize to this dissident that they had put in jail. Excuse me a second. And they didn't like that too much, so they said to Norway that that we had to say that we were sorry, ask for forgiveness, and then we will be able to trade back. And until that happened, there will be no issue of any cultural visas or anything. And we were out in the cold for, I think, 12 years. And then our government apologized, as the Chinese told them. We were like, are we apologizing? No way. But we fucking did. 12 years later, went down to China, apologized, and then now it's open again. We have played in Hong Kong, which is a part of China in a way, but not the mainland. But now in January, we're finally going Beijing and Shanghai for the first time. So that's going to be January. And also swing by Nepal. And was there somewhere else? No, that was, so it's 2 more closer to 75 in January.
So you're catching up to Morgan and that little known band known as Marduk.
Yeah, no, those guys, I mean, they it's not like a competition, but now I know. You know what I mean? So I tell my booking agent, but every time we go to Asia, every time we go to South America, give them the list of these countries we haven't played, and then tell them to book gigs there, or tell me why we can't play there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know, like, my booking agent, I tried to get to Cuba last time I was there, and it was this, because I had some connection with the embassy there, Norwegian embassy. But we were not quick enough. It it would be one of those gigs that we wouldn't get paid. Yeah. But the government here in Norway would see the benefit and help us out with the expenses. That was the idea. Also, the same thing with the Dominican Republic. I have some contacts there also, in the government, in the foreign department, secretary. So I might be able to do it. But the rest of this islands, they are not into metal. It's the reggae thing. I don't think this. I'm sure there is some few people who like metal there, but not enough people to set up a gig in Kingston, for example.
The weather is too good. That's the problem. I mean, the only place where that's an exception, there is a very, very big metal scene in Australia, and there are fucking excellent bands there, and they have.
We're going there in January. Yeah, again.
I was going to say, and their country really is stunning. They've got great weather, great food, great everything.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be as good at producing metal music as they are.
Yeah, because it's too good weather, so people are too happy.
Life is too comfortable. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you know what? You have a point there. Through software comes great art.
100%.
And especially when you are, I mean, look at the artists who made, the big ones. They're all very struggling people. All the greatest ones. Van Gogh, cut off his hair. All these people that were hooked on, what do they call it? This honest drink. This green shit.
Absinthe?
Absinthe, of course. That was the drug. Absinthe, opium. That was the choice of the artists back in those days. The fucked up ones. But yeah, no, we were talking about. I think where was we?
Well, one thing I was going to ask you, when I look at the when I look at the set list alone for this new for this 40th anniversary tour, there are some incredible tracks that you guys have decided to wheel out, including one of my favorite ever Mayhem songs, Illuminate, Eliminate. Just as a side note, before I ask you what I actually was going to ask you, do you know that the final melodic part at the end of that song? I don't know whether I mean, you must know, but I'm just curious to know whether you do. You know, the last, that melodic bit at the end, that was the last thing that Blasphemer ever wrote for Mayhem. That was his way of saying goodbye. I spoke to him about it about maybe a year ago, and he was saying like that was in his mind. He was saying goodbye to the band when he wrote that riff.
Yeah.
Which, what a fucking incredible track. And what an incredible record. But I was always, there was such a great piece of trivia when he shared it.
And I think you're right. And he was truthful when he said that. That was he never said that to me, or I never read it in any interviews, but it makes sense. It makes sense, definitely. We also, as a part of the concept, 40-year anniversary concept, that what we fell down on, that we had to do something from every album, everything. Let's say every release, to put it that way, because some of them is EPs and some of them are demos and shit. So it would be like a time travel through the catalog and the history. And we chose to... First we started with The Last, also the Demon, and then worked ourselves back towards the first demo. And, we always finish our concerts with the Pure Fucking Armageddon, which was the third track I ever wrote. In 85, 86. So it's fitting to end with that and start with the new, and then to the whole thing. We have skipped some of these songs from the set list over the years because of different reasons. They didn't fit in, we didn't like it, something, But now we were forced to pick some songs from everywhere. So, but my favorite thing that came from the past to this thing, it's two songs. First of all, when we started to do this 40-year anniversary, we reached out to all the ex-members, and some of them said no, most of them said yes. And then we started to rehearse. Maniac showed up at the rehearsal place, and if he was going to do it, he had picked up some songs that he wanted to play. One of them was Chimera, the song Chimera. We never even played that song, ever. So I thought to myself, like, that's fucking weird. Because he said it like it was either he played that song or nothing. I'm like, okay, like, it's a great song. We never played it before. And so we started rehearsing it. And then he dropped out. He didn't want to do it.
Did he tell you why?
No. He came to the rehearsal place 2-3 times. Because he said that if he was going to do it, it needed to be perfect. So he needed to rehearse. So I don't know. It was fucking weird, like, if you just said no, and that I would understand that, but say yes, show up at the rehearsal place and then drop out, that was weird. I must admit that. With Blasphemer, he said no, but he also said no to the 30-year anniversary because
So
that
he's
was a thing.
consistent, at least.
Yeah, but it's a funny story. I don't know if he's gonna like it that much, but doesn't matter. I think it's hilarious, and I have some sense of humor, so I don't hold it against him. So 10 years ago, we had the 30-year anniversary. And it was a couple of years before that. I was planning it already. And I saw Orenor was playing in Oslo, went in, and then hooked up because he lives in Portugal. So, and so I don't see him. And so I come in there, and it was a hi and stuff. And I say to him that, yeah, we have the 30-year anniversary coming up. So are you interested? And he was like, it's like, yeah, that sounds great. Call me. I'm gonna be looking forward to say no.
Is that exactly what he said?
Exactly what he said.
Jesus.
But with a big smile. We had just met as brothers. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There in the backstage,
Yeah.
we're happy. Oh, hey man, how's it going? Like we've been in the band 13 years together, before that. So I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And he's a man of his word, and I believed him. So I mean, okay. I mean, nothing I can do with that. And so I didn't call him now, but I think our record company, our management called him before the 40-year anniversary. I guess it was the same answer. It's okay, doesn't matter. It would be funny, to have the old people back, especially now since the ones who said yes for the 30-year anniversary, Billy, Mannheim, and Maniac. Now they all came in and did it, except Maniac dropped out, and now we have Mannheim and Billy, the first drummer and the first vocalist. So they came along on the European tour now. We did 9 shows together. First, some shows here in Norway, the 40-year anniversary, 2 shows in Oslo, and then we did the Beyond the Gates in Bergen. Then they came to Wacken Festival and did that. And then we did 7 shows or something in Europe. Now just, was it 2 months, 1 month ago?
I'm about to say, I think you finished up at the back end of September.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When you spend 40 years in a band like you've done, you see a lot of these guys grow older as well. I mean, you're really growing up with them in many ways, because my theory has always been about men in particular. I think we do most of our growing up between the age of like 20 and 35. I think that's, at least for me, that's where I changed the most as a person. My view on life changed a lot. Like, growing older with a guy like Attila, who's, probably, him and Halheim are one of the longest serving guys that you've played with consistently. Is it strange sometimes? Do you take a step back and go, Jesus, I remember you when you were 20 years old, or 22 years old? Like, how much do you, I guess the question is, how much do you reminisce about the past? How much do you think back to the past when you reflect on where the band is right now and you reflect on where the band's going?
I don't think I think about it like conscient about it. More like it's with me all the time. And I don't stop up and think about it in that sense. I think about it in different ways. Now, these days, obviously, there is a concern about health. And nothing has happened so far. I mean, Billy's up with his heart disease, the heart surgery now. And also, there's always something like guitarists could get this. What do you call that when you have the tendencies that you get inflamed?
And tendonitis.
Right? That's one thing, and you have to stop. Vocalists, with the throat, the vocal cord, it's a very delicate instrument. With the drums, for example, especially with Hellhammer, he doesn't want to back down. If he can't play it like he did in the studio, he doesn't want to do it. And I tell him, sometimes, no, I tell him, it's wrong to say. I mean, I think to myself, like, he could simplify things a little bit and make it much more easy for himself. But he doesn't allow himself to do that. He needs to be there. And I just think, and when you go think that way, down that line, if he gets any problems with any arms or legs or something that has anything to do with the motoristic things, we would have a big problem. And I mean, so he's good. He's still good. Nothing's wrong with him. But I think about it sometimes. Like, there is an end in the end. But like he says, some of his favorite drummers, they're over 80 years old and still playing. So, and the same thing with me. Look at Keith Richards and stuff. They're 80 years old and they're still doing it.
I saw you guys play at Incineration Fest. I think it was 2019. And the one thing that I noticed about the show straight away, about you in particular, when you got to that end part of the show and you're doing Chainsaw Guts Fuck and Death Crush, when you say somebody is in their element, like you really looked in your element, like playing those older songs. And when I go back and I watch any of the videos that you guys have done, like live videos and things like that on YouTube, it's the same thing. You really seem to have a particular enjoyment of doing those songs. And I mean, physically, you still look like you're in fucking great shape.
Thank you. Well, it's you know what? I think what you're talking about now, it's not a question to me. It's more like your observation.
Yeah.
And I would say to that why this is occurring and why this looks like this to you is probably because I can't help it. I'm too honest as a musician, and then when those groovy songs come out, and I'm proud to perform it in a sense that I also like it. I dig it, and so I think I give it away. But it's not like I want to do it, but other people can see it. Like, oh, now he's enjoying himself. You know what I mean? And I can't. It's I don't know. I can't say that I like the ending and playing the old songs more than the other ones. It's just like maybe somebody else like yourself see it, but for me, I'm just there in the music all the time, especially in the live thing, because it's so intense. Sometimes I tell myself, like, I'm angry at something, the bass sound is not right, or something is going on, and I tell myself, like, today I'm going to be in the background. I'm just going to fucking finish this show and get the fuck out of here, right? But when I get on stage, all of that is gone. It's just, it's it's a compulsive thing. The whole live thing is a very compulsive thing, and everybody, we are so how to say, into the thing that it's almost like a how to say, it's almost like a trance. Like you get into that thing and you can't get out. You have to finish the song. And it's all very, especially you play with the other guys too. So it's we all have to have it. So it's a symbiosis between the artists, when they play together live. Like nobody can just go off their rails. Everybody have to be in it, And then so it's kind of, especially with the speed and all the noise, because there's a lot of distorted guitars. Everything, even the bass is distorted. The vocals is distorted. So even though it's a live environment, it's a lot of noise and shit, but it's noisy music as well, and it's fast and it's technical. It's so technical sometimes that where you're just in it and you just like sometimes have to feel it, because sometimes it's not like you can count 1, 2, 3. The tree is just out there, and you need to hit it at the same time. You need to feel it because you can't count it. And some of the old songs, I don't know if there's something wrong with them in the composition, because sometimes in the early songs, some of the riffs are floating. It doesn't have, it just needs to be felt at the time, and it's about the tempo. Because it's different, you fall down different place because of the tempo you play it in. And but everybody have to fall in the same place, and that's what makes it magical, especially with Hellhammer. Like we play together now for so many years. It's ludicrous, really. But I know exactly what he's gonna do. The millisecond before he's doing it, for some reason, and he knows the same with me, because it's some kind of musical, like.
It's like you've learned to speak each other's language.
Well, there's something with so it's so easy for me to play with him, but it's probably not. He's probably hard to play with because he's all over the place. He is a very technical drummer. So and for me, it's like he can do all these technical things, but he knows like, but I know that ding, that's where I'm gonna be at when he's finishing thing, bing. That I just know that, okay, now like I have to wait half a second, because he's gonna have to finish the and stuff like that. So it's but yeah, back to the 40-year anniversary. So I thought it was funny, with the blasphemer thing, with the way he made like he was probably serious because he didn't want to have anything to do with us anymore in that sense. But I thought it's kind of black humor-ish. When you say like, yeah, call me, looking forward to saying no. It's some kind of black humor-ish over it. That I also, which is very down our alley, really. So. Yeah. And then, so we have actually finished our 40-year anniversary this year. But a year is only 365 days, unfortunately. So some of this 40-year anniversary thing is going to happen in January.
I'm about to say it's carrying on into 2025.
Unfortunately, all the way up until we have a US tour in April. So that's going to probably, and we have some festivals during the summer. I don't know, probably going to do that same thing until we get the new record done.
Mm.
And that's going to
is work underway on that yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Last summer, also over a year ago, Telok and Gul, Charles and Morten had already written about 10 songs each. And when they sent it to me last year, I thought to myself, like, at that point, I really loved 3 of the Charles songs and 5 of Morten songs, and that's 1.5 year ago.
Hmm.
And they have been writing ever since. And Charles was just here in Norway. I have to blow my nose. Together with and stayed with Morten to compose some stuff.
Hmm.
I haven't spoken with them after that. That was last week. We have set aside some time to compose a little bit more, and then I don't know if it's February, March, how far we gotten in the process. If we are there, then we can probably book the studio for maybe June or something.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
without wanting to let the cat out of the bag, I'm gonna assume people should expect the unexpected, right? Because from Chimera to Wardawadkeo to Esoteric Warfare to Demon, it is every single record is very different.
Yeah, but it that makes sense because every record, the spawn between the records is many years, so we change. We have different inspirations. We are on the different places in our lives, or not me necessarily, because I've been living in the same house for 30 years, for example. Actually, 31 years. So I'm not pretty stable. But yeah, no, I think that when a band release a record every year, sometimes they say, "Oh, it sounds the same." If it's the same songwriter, it's like, yeah, you make 10 songs or 15 songs to release an album, and then you make 15 more right after. It would sound the same because it's the same guy, it's the same time, same, it would be very similar. But if you take the same guy 5 years later, shit have changed.
Yeah.
It's the same guy still, and like it would be some similar things probably, but not as close up to. And sometimes when it goes very long time, we change songwriters as well. So from the Death Curse, Mysteries, to the Woolslayer, and then to Telok, and then now Charles, we also get the new songwriters that also change the thing. So every album is completely different in that sense because we let the years go by in between. And sometimes some songwriters.
How much kind of direct input do you have into things creatively? Because again, you're one of the most consistent name. You are basically the glue that holds everything together.
Mm.
Do you almost act as a like the sense I'm getting is that you almost act as a director, where you go, okay, I like this, and this is kind of the, as these guys are contributing music or sending you songs, you start to get a sense of how the record could sound, and you sort of steer the record and the process in that direction. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, in my head, probably, like I would get the demos, listen to it, and I'll tell them, what I really liked and maybe what I didn't like. But it's not at this stage. these people that I work with are brilliant people. We hire them because they're brilliant. They're much better songwriters than I can ever be, and I acknowledge that. So I can at this time, like after Blasphemer joined many years ago, I could only be like saying what I liked and what I didn't like, basically, because and especially since the albums many times was this kind of concept album, which means that it's an one ID thing, and if anybody comes in with other ideas, that would be wrong, even if they were great. So let's say in the beginning that I was more in charge of the things, and when we built up the band again, yes, took care of all the management parts of it, and also control the past, like releasing books, and controlling, and then the legacy. That is true.
Yeah.
But today, these people, I don't think, and since they're such great songwriters, it wouldn't be right for me to go into direct and say like this riff goes too long, or that they have to figure out themselves in the rehearsal place later. It's no telling people, like, you don't tell a genius that he's wrong because they don't understand it. They can understand it if they hear it themselves, that there's something wrong here. So it's impossible to get into, it's different ways. Actually, the Demon album, I was happy that actually what I was asked to write the lyrics for that album, because Attila was doing something else. He didn't have the inspiration, I think, at that time. So I started to write lyrics, and then when the time came, it turned out that Charles and Morten had written their own fucking lyrics.
You said, how fucking dare you?
No. That was great, because then I wouldn't have to come up with all the shit myself.
Yeah.
And turned out it was more difficult to write songs than, like it came easier before, probably. So I came up with 2 songs. And then, but there was only one song left to choose from the songs. So I chose one of Charles' songs, and it became Bad Blood. That song. So I wrote some lyrics, and then that ended up on the album. So I was back in contributing musically for the first time in many years, actually. So it's just like sometimes you have to take a step back because you don't want to step on other people's, and you don't want to hold them back.
Yeah, they need to feel empowered to be able to express themselves.
Absolutely. And we are, also, we are a band, like we try to help each other out by how to say, constructively, talk about the music in a way that it doesn't hurt their feelings, let's say. Because it's never good if anybody in the band says, well, that song you made was crap, right? That's not gonna fly well. But you can say that maybe that riff was a little bit too long, and maybe that riff could be played in D instead of C, like different things.
Yeah, I think there's a balance.
I don't want to claim that I'm having anything to do with the that process these days, because we that. But we wouldn't have hired these people if we didn't have the confidence in them either. So
I was going to say there's a balance to be struck, I think, between direct feedback and just criticism that comes from a very negative place. Like there's a sporting analogy about somebody being a confidence player, and actually you get your best out of somebody when they're at their most confident. And I mean, you have in Telok and Ghoul, I mean, you have two absolute fucking assassins. I mean, they are incredibly gifted musicians and incredibly gifted guitarists. Not to mention the fact that they both have great stage presence as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've been around, for many, many years, before even they joined Mayhem, like Telok has been with us now for, let's say, 14 or 15 years. And Charles 13 or 14. Yeah. And before that, they were like Charles was in Cradle of Filth for many years before that, and then Morten was in Gorgoroth for many years before that. They were touring around the world, So I'm just gonna put some more coffee in the machine here.
No worries. He was in Nidingr as well, which Nidingr to me is one of the most underrated black metal bands on the face of the earth. I think that the high heat that clicks against the heaven is just a fucking masterpiece.
Okay. So so you're from where in England are you from?
So no, I'm not originally from England. I'm South African originally, and I moved to the UK in 2002. So I live now in a place called Great Shefford, or just outside of a place called Great Shefford. Actually, I live in the middle of nowhere, and it's relative to, it's probably about 8 miles away from London, and it's about, say, maybe.
Okay, South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is one of the Marduk, achievements. We have had offers from South Africa. I know it's thing going, that there's a scene there and everything, but it's out of the way and hard to get there. I think the promoter said something about if you go into Australia, and you can get a flight with Qantas or something, and then they will stop in South Africa instead of Hong Kong or something.
Yeah.
But we never got around to do it. And it's too far to go just for one gig, because obviously there's not enough fans to cover the charge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would potentially be able to do two. You could do one in Johannesburg and one in Cape Town, but... And look, I mean, I say this as someone who very much loves the country, but it's I don't know if the finances would make sense. There's a metal scene there, but it's not so big that you could guarantee, say, 2,000-3,000 people at a show and make the same money, because bearing in mind they're going to pay you in rands. If you go on holiday there with euros, you're going to have a fucking great time, but they're paying you in rands, so. You're not necessarily going to be able to guarantee a large enough crowd there, I think, to make it worth your while. If you do ever go, though, then remember to hit me up, and I will tell you some places to go and some things to do when you're there. Yeah. Good, fun, wholesome things. As long as you like red meat and red wine and nature, you can be pretty happy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
No, I always wanted to go, and we have had offers the last, I don't know, like 25 years ago. We got the first offer to play there. I bumped into somebody's working for Napalm Death, I think. Was it their management or something that was from South Africa? Do you know anything about that?
No, I've met Shane and I've met Barney. Barney met years ago. Shane I spoke to maybe about a year ago on the podcast, but no, I don't know. I don't know any of their management.
Okay, no, I think it was one of them that like started talk about it.
Yeah,
because yeah, no, it's one of those countries I need to tick off my list. It's very irritating, and it's bigger than that too, because I like to have said that, or have to play on all the 5 continents. And if we don't play in Africa, we miss out on a big one. Now, everything in between South Africa and these countries up on the top, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt.
Yeah.
These 3 countries are, or these 4 countries is possible. Everything in between is not possible, and it won't be possible in my lifetime either.
Yeah,
so
I'm not sure it'll be possible
okay.
in anyone's lifetime.
That's okay, that's all right. The same thing with South America. I'm not crying on my pillow because I'm not playing in New Guinea or French Guiana or Belize or some shit like that. We know it never gonna. Belize. Well, I was a little bit quick there. There is that could actually happen, but yeah, no, all these other countries. So it's important to get either South Africa, because now Morocco. I mean, we tried to play in Morocco for years, and I talked to the biggest people over there. They have a festival and shit, and they were like, "Oh, we don't Mayhem." It's like, okay, send us the money, send us the tickets. Okay, all right, do it. And they were like, okay. And that was 2 years ago. I started to get very, it started to look like now we're getting somewhere. But then I didn't hear anything again. So I don't know what's up with them. But Egypt, I don't know, really. I don't think that it's possible. Tunisia, they were before that guy put himself on fire and started the Arabian Spring, or what they call it. That fruit seller that put himself on fire. That year they had this metal festival in Tunisia, and we were working on trying to get there. And that shit happened, and then nothing more happened in that area. So for me now, it looks more like South Africa is the only country in the whole fucking continent that makes sense to play. And I want to play in Africa. I want to, I don't want to retire before or die before that happens. And and then, we have, like I said, we have 2 countries now coming up, like China, and then, there was a reason why we had played there, the political, and then some. Also, I'm looking to bands like Napalm Death with their live thing. It's like first Rolling Stones plays there, then Metallica. And then the next band is fucking Marduk or Napalm Death. And then we come in. It seems like these 2 bands are, I don't know, for some reason. But I really like that, because sometimes some people have to come before you and to show the booking agent that this was possible to do. So sometimes I don't think, maybe it's better that they are guinea pigs. You
want to make sure that it's actually safe to go there. Cryptopsy had everyone beat on Saudi Arabia, though. They played Saudi Arabia, I think, a week before Metallica.
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. So there was a big deal made about Metallica going to play there, which it is a big deal. But I think Cryptopsy ended up playing there a week before Metallica did.
I didn't even know that Metallica played in Saudi, but we played in Dubai. So we have played in
how did that Dubai show go down?
Yeah, I mean, it was a Syrian refugee. There was a Syrian guy who had to flee from Syria because I think he was distributing. He had his distribution shop company, and maybe a shop sold metal music, and then that became illegal, or the government didn't like it, so he had to flee. So he fled to Dubai, where he started to. He was a DJ, and then he also tried to start to put together some shows, and then he reached out to us, and then that's about 10 years ago ish.
Yeah, I was just having a quick scan now. You guys did that in 2013, I think.
Yeah, so good on me to remember it. So 11 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we arrived there, and there is the venue it's a discotheque, but it's in the back of the discotheque. It's an open air, like a smoking garden lounge in the back of the disco. And the reason why I say disco, it's because they had this sparkling balls, I don't know, the disco lights thing in there. So we set up the thing. They had equipment, not 100% what we ordered, but at least they had. And most of the people that came, there was actually people that came from the nearby countries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was surprising. That not so many people from Dubai, but there was people from Iran, there was people from Saudi, there was people from Pakistan. The opening act was a death metal band from Pakistan.
Well, so the T-shirt I'm wearing right now is my very good friend Cheyenne. So he moved away from Iran, grew up in Iran, came to the UK and started a band. The band Trivax. Fucking fantastic band, by the way, and well worth checking out. But so there's metal seems to have a home in the most unlikely of places, and I find especially in countries where it is people are where it's forbidden or there's a degree of oppression. If you are going to be if you're going to get into this kind of stuff,
absolutely,
people can be particularly passionate about it.
This type of music appeals to a certain type of person. And so we are the same everywhere. And so if you are that person and you're born in Saudi Arabia, it's bad. It's bad for you, for sure. Because this thing has to do with freedom. And that's the only thing that they don't really have there. The individual freedom to, political or whatever. So musical and stuff. And I think that sets people like us. We are always these people who want to revolt against things that we feel like is not right. So we are also, so I identify with a lot of these people because we had the same type of struggles in the 80s, because here in Norway we're a very conservative Christian country. So it not that we were gonna be put in jail and tortured and shit like they do there. So it's another. It's a little bit more, but the same kind of underlining things was there. And
Yeah,
this is how, and that's why when you met that guy from that band, you became friends and you liked his music and shit, because he was the same as you, and that's why he had to flee to England.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing with a guy who lives in a place called Harstad here in Norway. Also, exactly the same story. He had a band, and they opened up for us one time we played there. So his brother lives in England. He lives in Norway. They're all political refugees. They had a band. They got thrown in jail because of the band.
Mm.
So,
you're absolutely correct, I think, in saying it's people with a very similar mindset, because even though Cheyenne and I grew up in completely different places, he's probably one of the people I've met in the last decade who I'm most simpatico with. And actually, funnily enough, somebody from Norway who you might know, Swartolf from Nocturnal Breed and from formerly of Gehenna, somebody I also just hit it off with immediately. And that's kind of the great thing about metal is you speak to people that you've never come across in your entire life, and there's just almost an instant connection there because the blueprint that governs your thinking and your approach to life is very similar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tribe. It's a great tribe, and we are all over the world, and we recognize each other when we meet, which is a great thing, That's one of the things which is like let's say it's a bonus, because you're out there doing your job, you're releasing albums, and then you go on the road, you play concerts, but there's people on the way you meet. People in the industry, and then some people on the outside that for some reason you get to know. And then when you've been touring around the world for so many years, you find your chains, you find your you're not the Frost, or these people, and it becomes this kind of network that you suddenly have all over the world. And they are the same. They are tapped into the network. So not only are me and him connected, but everybody I'm connected with is connected with him, and vice versa. So it's all, we have one thing in common that binds us so much together that it doesn't really matter where you come from, what you look like, or anything like that. If you have that common ground, we have the basic, and it's like, it's the tribe. It's special. It's a special thing. It's the same thing really that has to do with this, what Rob Halford is talking about, the metal family. That all these people around the world who likes metal it's such a strong thing, and when you tap into that there's millions, and then you found your common ground, and then you can be friends, you can be business partners or whatever after that, but you already established that we are the same in many ways,
music builds the bridge, and then everything that comes after that just comes
then you have heavy metal, which is a big umbrella, and then you have smaller side umbrellas, smaller, and of course in the smaller sections it's even stronger, because not only are you into heavy metal, but you're into this little weird thing. And then when you meet these other people who are into that, it's even a closer circle, you know.
Mm.
And then this extreme metal music, I mean, it started out, I was there when it started in the beginning of the 80s. And one thing I want to say with the, you know, like what I've seen over the years is that, first of all, this music and the people who around it feel so heavy for it, so passionate about it, that it's not enough just to listen to it. You have to start your own band. You have to play this yourself.
Mm.
That's how strong this is with this type of aggressive music. And so this started in the beginning of the 80s. Now, many styles of music has come and gone in between. Glam rock, all kinds of stuff. Been very
Grunge.
popular and that kind of grunge.
Yeah.
Different styles of music has come and gone. But this kind of music has this. It's so based fundamentally that it's so strong fundamentally that it's just there, and then it will never go away. So therefore, when you start to build on it, it's so structured in the foundation of the metal music, and that it has been an uprising spiral for over 40 years now.
Yeah.
And it still is rising, where all the other things that came in dipped out, some disappeared, some came back and disappeared. We have had the steady thing. And now if you look at it, look at all the different types of music, this is the only style of music the last 40 years that has had the same thing.
Mm.
There is no other type of music that has lasted this long and is still progressive.
Yeah.
In this scale. I mean, you have the same thing in every other type of music. There is a progression, but the scale, it's so small, you know. But this metal thing is just so huge.
Mm.
So, and this is going into where you're saying, like, oh, you didn't know that you were gonna get to where we are now, like 40 years later. No, it's going into the same thing. Like it's so natural that we have forgotten to think about it. That it's actually, this is the only type of music that has have a steady up. And now we're talking about extreme metal, not this heavy metal.
Yeah.
Heavy metal is kind of down in a sense, like you have some bands holding it up still, but I mean, Priest and stuff, but it's incredible. This is the only thing which is a little bit surprising, that there will be so many people around the world that got into this thing. If you want to try to find a way to describe why, I think personally that it has to do with the society. That the society is not getting warmer and more inclusive and nicer. No, it's getting the opposite. Therefore, this kind of aggressive, dark type of music is getting more and more popular, because it goes in the way of the people.
Yeah.
They create more violence. They create more hard. They create more noise. More and more of this aggressive stuff. Like it's like, so think about it. I mean, what people thought was noise, like it was so much like motor that was not even music, was kind of noise. And you think about how structured that sounds, like a like pop music compared to this grindcore and shit that came out later, which is still fucking popular as fuck. Even that thing, the grindcore. it's still no. So I mean, I don't know if you could say that we were lucky or we are the lucky ones, or but it's a fact. No other type of music has had the same steady rise the whole over 40 years and has still not reached its peak yet. And you can see that
Oh,
with all the festivals that are going on.
mm,
How many festivals are we talking about now?
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I
And the
mean, there
thing
was
is that,
once upon a time it was Dynamo and Wacken, and that was basically it.
and Roskilde,
And Roskilde, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But there's room. I mean, I'm not complaining. There's always if there's room for another festival, great.
Mm,
Isn't that fucking? It's fantastic. It means that people went to Wacken and then they went to Partisan too. You
mm,
know, not only the one they and then maybe they went to the Forest Fest and then they went to the Incinerator Fest. You know,
yeah.
it's never ending. And the festivals that started are now like this kind of, what do you say, when they are established, and now they are kind of standing pillars that will never go away, like
Yeah.
Wacken, for example, Beyond the Gates in Norway, Incinerator Fest, Donington. There's some people, they're like, when they are established they will never go away.
Yeah.
Grasshopper, Dynamo,
Yeah.
which is great.
One thing that I'll say, and this will be a nice way to wrap things up, actually.
Mhm.
So I would say I think I completely agree with everything that you said about extreme music and where it comes from and the reflection on society.
Mhm.
But what I would also say is, and I the reason I said this is it'll be a nice way to wrap it up because it brings us full circle on celebrating 40 years of this band. I think it thrives and it survives in part because there are bands that have been doing it for a very long time, like Mayhem, that care enough about what they are releasing and that are conscientious enough about what art, what creativity is being attached to their names, that they keep putting out high quality music,
Yeah,
well into their, when they're as people, when they're 50 years old.
yeah.
And you guys have truly done that. I mean, I'm always,
Thank you.
it's something I'm particularly almost curious about in a way. I look at bands that Napalm Death is one that you mentioned as well, still putting out incredible records.
Incredible records. I mean, they're better now than
100%.
they've ever been.
Agree.
But
Yeah, totally agree.
that band, ever since I heard the Scum album, I was like immediately a big fan. Immediately. I was such a big fan. Me and Øystein, we went to fucking England to hang out with those guys. Just after they released the Scum album, when Mick Harris was on the drums, Lee Dorian on the vocals, and Bill Spear,
Yeah.
on the guitar. So I remember we came there. Bill came from Liverpool, I think, and he had to take the train to. It wasn't Birmingham. It was. Was it Stoke-on-Trent or
It might have been Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah, I think around that's where they rehearsed. So me and Øystein, we stayed with Lee. I think it's a flat, and Battalion stayed with Mick because Mick was staying with his parents actually at that time.
Yeah.
And we went. I don't know if it's like my memory, if it's if it got confused somewhere, but I think because we went to somewhere and I think it was a studio with Napalm, because that's what they were going to do that when we were there accidentally, they had their agenda, we were there on our own agenda, so we were not, you know what I mean? So I think we were in the studio when they recorded that Peel sessions.
Yeah, so that would have been 1987.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a year before they did From Enslavement to Obliteration.
Yeah. I have a recollection that I was in a room, they were playing, and there was a red light on, also recording. So you have to be quiet. Something with that. But I have a much more, I remember that, which is much more clearer in my head. Was that we were at the rehearsal place, and there was this newspaper clippings on the wall, and it said, "Vandals attack butcher shops," and that was probably them, because they were vegan terrorists or extremists, or and okay, so we saw that, and then we went out to get something to eat, and then we come into a restaurant. The only thing I recognized was to eat was spaghetti bolognese. So I ordered the bolognese, and so the bolognese came. The whole band stepped up and left the restaurant.
They were so disgusted by the offensive bolognese that
you
you ordered.
Disgusted about. No, there was one guy that was sitting, and I think it was Mick Harris, and he explained why they all left. So I thought to myself, like, wow, okay, this is real dedication. This is not just some fucking, like, and I liked it. I respected it for him. It was a laugh, obviously, because it was like it was, if you know what I mean, like you leave a restaurant. Yeah. But at the same time, Øystein, we were also nerdy people, so we kind of appreciated that in some strange way. So
yeah,
no,
I would say I mean Shane in particular. I'm a massive fan of Shane as a musician and as a man as well. I think he's a great guy. But vegans would have a tough time coming over here. So that's one part of South Africa that'll never leave me is red meat.
Yeah. No, also funny thing that since we're talking about napalm now, and I mean, at some point they didn't like us anymore, and they had to. I think I read an interview with Barney that he called us Nazi poofters. Like a poofter.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm definitely not, absolutely not any Nazi or something. Hellhammer has been linked to it because he has had some, just like, let's say, the same type of interest as Lemmy. Lemmy's not a Nazi. It was something about the style from the Second World War, with how how to say, people collect memorables from Second World War.
Yeah.
They're not politically into it, of course, not, but they, for some reason, find it interesting enough to. Anyway, so I mean,
well, just on that, people will go to museums. Like over here, you can go to. I'm sure you've been. You can go to the Churchill War Museum. And they'll look at everything that's there. And they'll go, "Oh, that's incredible."
Yeah, exactly.
I always find it bizarre then that people are shocked when folks are collecting Second World War memorabilia, because it's like it's kind of like having a museum in your house. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people do it for that exact same reason. They are just curious.
Absolutely.
They're interested in that period in history. I find it incredibly fascinating too. So
Yeah, I mean, we liked the banners, you know, the big red banners with the black signs on and shit. You know, we didn't, you know, necessarily go into, you know, this. Also, we hate narrow-minded people,
Yeah.
obviously. So, but we saw some of the things that, you know, who was it? Was it Gucci? No, it was who designed
It was Hugo Boss.
Boss, Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. You know, like everybody loves Hugo Boss, except of course that little link there. Nobody likes that, obviously. But yeah. Anyway, so they have probably picked up on that somewhere, because that's the only thing I can think of that kind of justify that they would say anything that we were Nazis or shit like that. So it's clearly a misunderstanding. You know, like we were hanging out with those guys back in the days, if you know what I mean. So because of that, we had kind of, I don't know, like this is the band I see the most. We're on festivals, for example. There's always this. If it's only one metal band, it's us and them. I mean, two. You know, for some reason, I always meet them. And here is the funny thing. So Shane and Barney, of course, they know me and they recognize me, and I recognize them, and we nod when we meet. Like all people, like. But my friend was Mitch Harris. You know, like after they kind of turned a cold shoulder, because of what they thought was a misunderstanding, by the way. But so you know, Mitch became my friend. So I was still hanging out with them, you know, when they came up with a brilliant album.
Harmony Corruption?
No, before that.
Oh, From Enslavement to Obliteration.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just got a black spot here. Stuff.
Oh, that's Diatribes, isn't that?
Diatribes, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. That's 1996.
1996, right? So that's when I got back to the, you know, and befriended Mitch Harris. You know, like we had some similar interests on the top of the music. That's it. And so he was my key to get in, you know, hang out with these guys again. And then but they always thought that we were weird, I think. And but here's the cool thing. I befriended all the friends of Shane, all the people who's hanging out with Shane, who is his friends. That's my friends too. But we never talked about it. You know, we don't have to. I have enough friends. It's not about that. But it's irritating me that this misunderstanding that they thought that we were like a political band, and you know, that's a little bit. It irritates me a little bit, because we are so similar in all the ways, and you know, like when I look at his friends, like for example, Danny Lilker, one of his closest associates. He's a great friend. He's a big friend, good friend of mine. You know, like we're on the same page.
But that's something that that a lot of people, I think, didn't get at the time about black metal, and weirdly enough, I see them not getting now. Like I was I was doing a panel at Inferno this year on hate speech in black metal, and there was a girl that was on the stage with us, and she brought up something that Hellhammer said 18 years ago. And I didn't want to get too confrontational about it on stage, but I sat there thinking to myself, Jesus Christ. Are you literally holding yourself accountable for things that you said and did 18 years ago? when she's only probably in her 20s. So, it should be doing that as a kid. It's like, you do realize, one, the culture was very, very different. But secondly, like, this has always been a genre that has been about being abrasive and being confrontational and provoking. It's never, ever been a genre that's pretended to be anything other than that. No one ever said, hey, I'm going to start a black metal band because I want people to feel safe and happy.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I mean, Hellhammer has explained it like over the years. Stein was very radical.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we don't have any problem with people who are not paying attention to reading all these interviews and stuff. And because also but also Maniac also, a little bit on the edge. But the two things that Hellhammer said that has been taken up and tried to use against us from Antifa and all the LTBG or what do you call it, movements and stuff like that. That actually, I think, and he's explained it because there's an explanation, which is kind of, but nobody would like to hear that, and how to say,
well, they impose their own bias on what was said, and they don't take the context of everything into account. It kind of happened with you not too long ago when you were talking about how you were on your way to kill Euronymous, and they took that as the headline, ran with it, and made it sound like you're some fucking lunatic running around with an axe ready to kill the guy, and you're pissed off about the fact that VAR got to him first. But actually, when you listen to the entire conversation, there's much more context and much more nuance in that than any of the headlines gave you credit for.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, it's a good example on where how this thing can end up.
Yeah,
I can explain really quickly what happened. Like, we were doing the promotion for the new album in New York. I came over there. I was jet lagged as fuck. I had also eaten some sleeping tablets, so my head was kind of fizzy. We came up to the press thing, and the guy was starting going off like we were like leeching and didn't really deserve our spot because we were just leeching onto something that happened to some other people that was in our band, and where, and this is true to a lot of things, that the people, especially musicians and artists and stuff, when they die, they become like people. Let's say, how to say, they get either they get all the fault or they get all the recognition.
Yeah.
So I read people on the internet saying something like Euronymous wrote everything, and after he died, they should have quit. Now, it was the opposite, actually. I wrote the whole thing, all the lyrics, most of the music and shit, Death Crush, Pure Fucking Armageddon, everything. Half of the Mysterious record, actually, too. Until that fucker took fucking photos of the corpse of my friend after he killed himself. Now, that was the thing. That's where it went to fuck. And that's when the whole thing spawned out of, like, he had those photos. And he threatened, or he said to me that he was going to use it. And I had told him, first of all, that don't even fucking contact me before you burn these photos. If I even see any of these photos anywhere, I'm going to come in, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And that was not an empty threat. That was something I told him, like, and when he passed away, I never saw the photo before afterwards, when he showed up on that bootleg from Colombia. But that was where I'm coming from. I mean, everybody will understand very easily to understand that you don't take photos of a dead friend.
No, absolutely not.
No, you don't do that. That's not, no. And so that's where we're coming from. And so the term, I was on my way to killing myself. Yeah, I was so angry with the guy that I actually, in my head, thought, because, like, with your enemies and people wrong you, you think, well, fucking kill him. Now, to say it, like, that's one thing, but to actually do it is another thing. I would love to kill people, but I don't want to go to jail for it. I want to get away with it. Huh?
Yeah.
So you start to think, okay, how am I going to kill this person and get away with it? Well, kind of that idea would probably be, like, then you really have to be so dedicated and that kind of dedication only comes in if, let's say, he took a picture of my dead daughter, then I would have killed him. No doubt.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I wouldn't give a fuck about the prison sentence in that sense. Nobody will have seen my daughter dead, like that. So this was one of my best friends. So there's similar feelings, But I never got around to kill him. But it was definitely in my head, like, he needs, I want, I want to beat him up. I want to fucking kill him. Because those emotions were there. He didn't show up for the funeral, and he disrespected the dead body. And then he started coining in. Dead killed himself because the black metal wasn't going the right way. It was like, no. You see what I mean? He started to fucking... So, of course, yeah. This is where all this come from, and everybody would understand it, and that's why it's so fucking wrong to bring out that fucking word that came out in that little sentence there,
Yeah.
Like, and then, but that's the way, like, sometimes it goes that way, and the people who care, they understand. The people who don't care, they think I'm a fucking asshole now.
No, well, I don't think there's anything.
No,
There's
but
nothing as holish about having a degree of sensitivity about your friend.
Yeah. No,
but I know exactly what you mean.
The hate on the internet. I have a lot of hate on the internet because of that.
Wow.
But I mean, most of these people who hate, they were not even fucking born in 1993.
I was about
if
to say,
you know what I mean. Don't fucking come here and talk to me about my friends. You were not even fucking born, I mean, so yeah, no, but I mean, yeah. Of all the interviews I've done over the years, I mean, even now I'm completely, I don't give a fuck. I just got up 15 minutes before this call. I'm here having my morning coffee right now. So, I mean, I felt so confident. I don't care what kind of questions you ask. I can answer them. I don't care, because I don't have any. I don't have any bad conscience about anything. So therefore, I don't have any enemies. No real enemies. If you know what I mean. So, yeah.
Well, brother, I have so thoroughly enjoyed our time together, and I know you've been way more generous with me on as far as time is concerned that you probably plan to be. But thank you very much.
No problem,
Again,
mate.
congratulations on your 40th anniversary, and I am looking forward to seeing you guys play at some point. Hopefully, in the not
Coming to London in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually. All right. Well, like I said, hopefully I can get I get to see you guys.
Yeah. And since you do for me, I do for you. And now you call your people in South Africa and say, Mayhem already. Get 'em.
Oh yeah, no, I'll let them know.
Let them know.
I'll let them know, and when it happens, I'll make sure I get a message through to you on the good places to visit, the good spots to go to.
Sounds great, because
Awesome.
I need to tick it off on my country list.
You will not regret it. Excellent, my friend.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Good talking. Good talking to you.
Take care.
Demon Spawn is the name of the track off the album Demon. Fun fact for you about that. Mayhem put that out on October the 25th, 2019, which means that around about the time that you hear this interview, at least most of you, that album is going to be celebrating its 5th anniversary. One of my favorite records when it got released, and it absolutely still is. I think it is phenomenal. And what a pleasure it was talking to Necrobutcher. A couple of bits of trivia about the interview. The first one, Cheyenne actually recorded his episode with Necrobutcher the day after I did this, and he messaged me and asked me whether I had any tips for him. I said to him, you need to match his rhythm. And I think you guys can probably get a sense of what I meant, having heard the whole interview. He's got a very deliberate way of pacing the conversation, and you kind of need to adapt to that. The other thing where he kind of threw me off was when he asked me right at the start of the chat, and I'd left that in deliberately. He asked me whether or not this was going to be a hostile interview. Now, that came in response to my usual question to anybody that I've not spoken to yet, where, any time that I get somebody on, and bands who have been on the podcast know this, I will always ask whether there's anything that people want me to avoid talking about, just so that I don't accidentally derail the conversation. But it kind of threw me off a little bit there, but I had to laugh, and I knew I could build a bridge and build a rapport by getting into that "What's in My Bag" video that he did on the Amoeba channel. But as it stands now, officially, I can boast and say that I've interviewed 3 out of the 5 current members of Mayhem. And hopefully, by next year this time, I will have made it 5 out of 5. Whether or not we will get Telok, I'm not sure. Way back when, I did reach out to him, and he just politely declined and said that he doesn't do podcasts. Hellhammer doesn't seem like the most talkative fellow, but I'd certainly love for him to be on the podcast if possible. I mean, any one of those guys always have an open invite whenever they want to be on. When Ghoul was back on episode 40, he was a man's man. Attila was on episode 200. Awesome guy. Met him in person at Inferno. And then Necrobutcher, probably out of the 3, I would say maybe the guy that I got on best with. It's not a competition, but you guys know what I mean. But anyway, great interview, great conversation. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed that. And as ever, make sure that you go and check out Demon, or frankly, the whole entire Mayhem back catalog. Although if you are on, or if you're listening to Into the Necrosphere, the chances that you don't at least have the majority of it somewhere is going to be, bizarre to me. Also, if you're in the US, make sure you check out Mayhem when they go on their 40th anniversary tour. It kicks off at the House of Blues in Chicago on the 31st of October. They are in La Olympia or in Canada, in Montreal on November the 12th. They hit the Concert Hall in Toronto, Canada on November the 15th. They're at the Knockdown Center in New York on November the 17th. Back in Chicago at the Vic Theater on November the 18th. They're at the Wilton in Los Angeles on November the 21st. And then they wrap up the North American leg of the 40th anniversary tour at the Ogden Theater in Denver on November the 23rd. So certainly a historic event and a historic tour that you do not want to miss. My friends, the fun and entertainment, as most of you well know, has not come to an end just yet. If you check the remaining runtime of this episode, we've still got a good long way to go. I just have a little thing, I've just got a little something to get off my chest before we get started, and that is this. If you're somebody who publicly announces your departure from Facebook groups or frankly any other forms of social media, then it's time to hit the bricks, because this is my weekly news rant.
A roundabout for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
After the critical acclaim that was lavished upon the podcast following your last appearance, I knew I had to get you back on at some point. So I thought sooner rather than later, especially considering who this week's guest is. How's everything going?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Everything's going all right. Busy, chipping away. But yeah, doing all right.
You were mentioning to me earlier that this was going to interrupt your marathon viewing of Rings of Power season 2.
No. I finished that. Yeah.
No, so I was fucking around there. Have you watched it?
Yeah.
What do
I
you think
watched.
of it?
It's real weird, right? So everyone's who has read the books, whatever, is a fan of the original Peter Jackson trilogy.
Yeah.
They're real skeptical about it, and I understand why, but at the same time, I'm a big fan of even the video games, Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, which was canon, from like, it's not real. It's just a fan theory, but it's still very, very good. And I do understand that, and I half agree. Some people, whinging about, like it's a little bit woke appropriate for my liking, but it's still, for what it is, it's pretty good. Like, I think it's cool. Like, and I don't know, just the internet's a terrible place. People just think their opinions matter and complain about everything. And I don't know, like, if you don't like it, just simply don't watch it. You know what I mean? It's the same with everything. But I'm a fan. I think it's cool.
That's interesting. You're the second person to actually say that to me, because I've got a very good friend who is, about as reflexively allergic to anything woke as you can imagine, but he really liked Rings of Power. He loves the original trilogy, but he thought that season 1 of Rings of Power was great, and I think he really liked season 2 as well. I've not watched it, not because of the wokeness per se. I struggle to accept anything that is outside of that purview. But then at the same time, I would be lying if I didn't say I was at least a little bit excited when I heard the news about Andy Serkis doing, they're doing some more movies now, and Peter Jackson is involved. Andy Serkis is doing, I believe, the first one, which is going to be called The Hunt for Gollum. And I was quite excited when I read about that.
Well, yeah, it's always good when the OGs come back. But I read a very interesting thing. Sir Ian McKellen, the fella that played Gandalf in both the Lord of the Rings trilogies and the Hobbit trilogy, he said that he's more than happy to play Gandalf in these new movies to come. But if he's alive, that's what he said. But then I saw another thing which I thought was interesting. The actor Viggo Mortensen? Yeah, he said that he's more than happy to come back for the movies, and funnily enough, he is this year he is the exact same age as Ian McKellen was when he started filming the first Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So they could sort of play in with that, maybe, like have Viggo play Gandalf, like with all the prosthetic beard, or I'm sure as passionate and focused as he is as an actor, he would probably grow his beard out for the role. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens, and like the Rings of Power, I don't care. Like I'll watch it either way, and no doubt enjoy the fuck out of it.
Dude, that is what you have just told me is completely and utterly wild about their ages. Ian McKellen is now 85 years old, and Viggo Mortensen is 66.
Is that true though? Like
that's 100% true. I've just checked it now while we were talking.
Interesting.
So that completely and utterly, when they show you these wrestling memes and stuff, and they say, if you don't feel old, this is what Stone Cold Steve Austin looked like in 1998 and what he looks like now, stuff like that. That might be one of the first times I've truly just felt my age. Fucking hell, Viggo Mortensen, 66. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff, eh? Just I don't know, like a bit of a fun fact, I guess. Like they could kind of like tie that in.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I wonder how old Andy Serkis is. He was
50s, 60s, something like that.
He's
maybe
60.
60.
Just checking now, he's 60. I mean, he was a young buck when they did Lord of the Rings.
It's still, I don't think anyone could ever play Golem or Smeagol.
No.
But him, you know what I mean?
No. Well, that's what I would least accept, is anybody else being Gollum. To me, it's the same as anyone else being the Crow instead of Brandon Lee. There's just certain roles. I read today that apparently they want to do a remake of American Psycho. And the guy who's doing it is the same director who did the remake of Suspiria, which actually I did quite enjoy. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I liked it. But again, I'm sorry, there are some characters that some actors, I should say, that embody a character so well that it is inconceivable that somebody else could cover that role.
Yeah, I think I saw the trailer. I think I heard you and I can't remember who it was complaining about the trailer for the new Crow movie. And I'm on board. I don't want to watch that shit. It looks like hell. But I did hear something. There's going to be a new Blade, and old Wesley has given the nod on whoever his replacement is. So
he gave the nod on it, but Ryan Reynolds apparently has been campaigning for Wesley to come back and do one last Blade movie, which I think would be dynamite. I think people would love it. Yeah,
I think Wesley would love it too. He's been in a bit of strife with Mr. Taxman, so I'm sure he could benefit on the paycheck. But who knows? He's not. What's Wesley now? 50, 60, something like that.
Yeah, he can get back in shape. Some of the old testosterone replacement therapy, he'll be good to go.
Yeah, too easy. He could, most of it's probably filmed at night, so he can get away with being older, and they could just do what they did with the Terminators. How they just how it's still Arnold, but they've just made up that backstory that the exoskeleton ages like a real human, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Although that, on that topic, I think there should not have been a movie made beyond T2. Everything else is unwatchable garbage.
Yeah. I won't lie. I've watched them all, but I agree. I think Terminator 2 is my personal favorite, but I don't know. Everybody's got to make a buck now, don't they? So.
Yeah, no, that's true. All right.
It's like all that Marvel shit. Like, I've never seen any of those movies, and they just keep pumping them out and making, billions of dollars out of them.
I can tell you exactly how most of them go. Supervillain plots to destroy the city, loads and loads of property destruction and explosions, the end. That's basically how every single Marvel movie goes. I tapped out after Iron Man 2, I think. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Iron Man 1 I thought was all right. I have now seen about as much of this shit as I can take. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and I thought that wasn't bad, but that was one I watched with my daughter. So it was kind of more the experience of watching it with her, I think, that made it enjoyable. But beyond that, I mean, even she's bored in most of them. Like I think we tried to watch Wonder Woman, and she was just like bored out of her skull. And she's the kind of kid who, even from a very young age, would watch and retain very key details from Lord of the Rings. I mean, she and I have probably watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy together maybe 10, 15 times. So she's got an attention span that will deal with complex movies, but when it comes to superhero stuff, she's just not interested.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've steered her on the right path at least.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's listen to some music. Aara are putting out a new single. It says here, Black Metal Force Aara put out Felson's Song single, which serves as a first preview of their forthcoming sixth long player, Eiger. The latter drops on December the 6th, 2024 via Debima Morty Productions. I'm not going to go into the kind of year Debima Morty Productions is having, because I've spoken about that ad nauseum. Aara, I have been hot and cold on. I know a lot of members of the Legion are big fans. I myself am yeah, I'm yet to be convinced, although I really, really like the other band that their kind of main instrumentalist, Berg, is involved in, Modern Rights. And I spoke about the new Modern Rights album probably a couple of months ago now. It's called Endless. And if anyone hasn't listened to that yet, I strongly urge them to do so. But yeah, let's give this a go. It's a roll of the dice as to whether the sound is actually being shared. So we may have a false start here that I need to go back on, but let me hit play and let's see what happens.
I'm pretty awestruck by it. It's musically, there was a lot going on. The intro I thought was quite cool, and with the acoustic guitar and then the layering, and then when it started picking up a bit, it got pretty wild. I quite enjoyed it. The work on the drums was quite impressive, especially in the intro. Like a lot of intricate sort of cymbal work, and then after that sort of build up into the blast, like it was solid, good production, and then the vocals kicked in, and they were shocking, to say the least, in my personal opinion. But yeah, they're fucking wild, aren't they? They're very, very high and screechy, but
yeah.
I think if they were very generic lyric vocals, it would have dampened the rest of it. So I appreciate the unusualness of the vocals. Like, it's very high. Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm very curious to look into the rest of this record when it comes out.
So an interesting fact about the drummer, he's actually the drummer for Forgotten Tomb as well. And Forgotten Tomb's new album, Night Floating, is another record that is almost certainly going to be in my top 30 this year. It is absolutely fantastic. And I agree with you. Fantastic drummer. You also touched on something which is partly why I laughed. Vocals in this band have always been my big bugbear. I thought with the previous record that they did Triad 3, it was the same story. You've got really great, epic, atmospheric black metal music, very intricately written, really layered, complex. And I just don't think that that Fluse's vocals suit the band. She might work well elsewhere, but I feel like her vocals are too high-pitched, too screechy, and just too... they're so abrasive that they actually take away from the experience of the music. Like, I mean, abrasive vocals are cool, but hers is abrasive in a nails on the chalkboard way. It's not. There's nothing positive about it, or about the experience. And I just can't. But I would say, to Aara's credit, they almost managed to bridge that gap with how good the music is on this song. But it's still a problem. A whole entire record with her vocals on. I'm not sure I would. I'm not necessarily sure that'd be something I'll be able to endure.
No disrespect to you, but I don't mind it. I would say, yeah. I think it's pretty good. I would say if the vocals were a little bit more quieter in the mix, then I think it would be better. But yeah, no, I'm a fan. I think it's pretty good. I'm definitely going to make note and check out the rest of their stuff. I think it's pretty cool. Because as well, I guess me saying that, and this may be controversial to a lot of the Legion and yourself, of course, because I know how you feel. But my favorite Gorgoroth album is Pentagram, and my favorite Gorgoroth vocalist is the mysterious gentleman known as Hat, who was the original vocalist on Pentagram. And then I think he did half of the album, Antichrist, and then said, fuck this, and then some other dude finished the album. But yeah, I like the high pitch. Like, it's just, I think it's different, and I enjoy it more so than just some sort of, run-of-the-mill cliche sort of style. But yeah, personally, I think from me, this gets a thumbs up.
I would give it a thumbs up as well, but it's a cautious thumbs up because, as I said, I'm not necessarily aligned to you on the vocals. You have now mentioned something where I'm thinking if they could reach out to Gall and get him to vocal on this, that would sound absolutely extraordinary. But I'm surprised at your love of Hat on Pentagram. I don't think that you're alone in that, though. There's quite a few people that seem to prefer Pentagram era Gorgoroth to the stuff that I like.
I just think that album front to back is perfection. And then I also agree with you that I can never remember the pronunciation. The one with the song Sign of an Open Eye, was it ad something? Ad
Maiorum Satanas Gloriam.
Yeah, and carving a giant or whatever. That album's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
that to me is the peak Pentagram. Of that band. I mean, it would be not just the peak of Gorgoroth. It's certainly a black metal peak as well. I mean, I think obviously it's not as though the genre went downhill after that, but it really was a paradigm shift to me in black metal when that album came out. I love it, and I can go back to it over and over again. I never tire of it. The track number 6 on that record, Exit, is one of the greatest black metal songs ever written in my opinion. It's so simplistic, but it has such an incredible.
I think that whole album to back is fantastic.
Yeah, but that song, like the ending of that song, anyone who knows the album very well, you'll know what I'm talking about. That part where, depending on the version of the album that you've got, where Gall is just like, I don't know what he's screaming. It sounds like he's screaming Exit, but he just like screams it over and over again, and then his vocals go from scream to clean at the end of the song, and he's just like holding the note. Goosebumps.
I think as well. I might be wrong here, but did Telok from Mayhem? Well, he's been in a few things. I know he played in Golgoth for a minute. I don't know if he was a part of that album or not, but I did see him playing that. You know that you'd know it, that live show they did with like the people who were on the crucifixes naked with bags over their heads, and like the goat heads and the rotten meat and stuff over the stage. Because Telok played that show, so I don't know.
I think that he may have been a session musician for that. I'm just looking at
part of the band at that point.
Yeah. Sorry, we overlapped there, or there was a bit of a lag on your side. I'm just saying with Telok, I don't think he's not credited as being a musician on that record. It's King of Hell on bass, Gall on vocals, Infernus on guitars, and then Frost from Satyricon is credited as a session drummer. But I think
Frost.
Telok's
I thought it was Nick Barker.
Oh no! He didn't drum. I think he drummed live for them, but he didn't drum in the studio.
Yeah, that album, it's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Panzerfaust, a band that I'm not. There's no point in even trying to mask the fact that I am fucking giddy as a school child about the release of this new record. I'm going to be meeting Brock when they're in London later in November. I have loved every single thing that they've put out, basically through the entirety of their career. But this Sons of Perdition quadrilogy has been particularly near and dear to my heart. The article here reads, in the wake of a new album release, The Sons of Perdition Chapter 4 to Shadow Zion, due on November the 22nd via Eisenwald, Canadians Panzerfaust have launched the new track in preview entitled Occam's Razor. I have heard it, want to hear your thoughts on it, so I will give it a spin. Right, that is the longest I've let a song run, but I did want to. It's a lengthy track in any case. I wanted you to kind of get a sort of full vibe about it, but if you listen to the whole thing, it's probably not a song you can just sample in a sort of 2 to 3 minute sit down. But the whole thing, to me, unequivocally attains the rarely given but well deserved BTN accolade. Beyond top notch. I fucking adore this band. Are you a Panzerfaust fan first and foremost?
To be honest, not really. You know, like from what I've heard, I've tried to go down, their back catalog and listen to their stuff, and it doesn't really. I don't know. My problem is. How do I explain it? The name, I find it confronting. No, not really. But
you find it triggering.
Yeah, it triggers me.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, when I see the name Panzerfaust, I just immediately I think, okay, sick. We're getting a Marduk Panzer Division sort of worship band, and they're completely not. So that throws me, and. I don't know, like this song, it's good from what we listened. Like, it's very cool. But is it something that I'm going to get horny about? Nah, not so much. But I'll definitely give the new album a full run through and then sort of make my decision from there. But who knows? Maybe it'll be one of those sort of slow burners where after a listen or two, it starts to resonate with me a bit more, because I had that with Winterfelleth. You had the chat with the guys, and then you put that song on the end of the interview, the episode with them. I forgot what it was called, something Tyrants or something. But that song really,
Edge of Tyranny, I think it was called.
Yeah. That song impressed me. I was like, man, that's pretty good. And then. Checked out the album, and immediately after a listen or two, I've chucked that on my end of year sort of list contender. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe when this album comes out, I'll give it a run through, and who knows? Might just be a slow burner.
Sometimes it is really just timing, I find, with certain bands. Like you just listen to a particular track, or you listen to a record at the right time and it lands. And other times, everyone and their mother could be loving something and you just don't get it. You just can't see why. And it's because you've just not, it's just the timing in terms of when your brain is ready to accept it, it just doesn't line up. You understand what I mean? I don't know if it's like that with you, but I've had that loads of times. I've had bands that I absolutely couldn't stand, and one day I'll be listening to something, and all of a sudden it just lands, it just clicks. I wouldn't say Winterfelleth was quite like that, but I'm trying to think who would be a great example. Oranti Pazuzu is a good example for me of that. First two albums, Marco is a massive fan, and he had been raving about them. New album came out, and I kind of sort of didn't really. I was quite indifferent to it, and then just one day it started playing on when Spotify plays new music. It sort of, there was a track off it that's sort of playing, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Let me go back and listen to the whole thing. And that particular day, I was a convert immediately, just completely blown away. And there's many experiences like that I've had, but who knows? Perhaps Panzerfaust is like that with you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like there's a time and a place. Like, I'm a big fan of Meshuggah. Like, their entire discography is fantastic. Yeah. I don't think they've got a bad album, but at the time that their album A Violent Sleep of Reason, when that album came out, just where I was mentally at the time, I couldn't enjoy the album, and it's kind of ruined it for me. Like, every time I listen to that album or a song off of that album, I immediately think back to that particular moment in my life, and it's always just it's not ruined the album, but it's it's put a shade on the album that makes me not enjoy it as much as I normally would. But it's interesting. You know, they're like listening to albums and stuff that you enjoy, and even, you know, from the other perspective of me writing albums and releasing albums, they're all just chapters of your life. You know, like you'll look back and you'll remember, oh, that was a certain time I was doing this and that, or I was going through this, or this good or bad time. And I don't know. Yeah, they're like memories, chapters.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, which is why I oftentimes, if I'm going through something now, you know, having learned now over the course of 44 years, if I'm going through some shit times, or I'm in a situation I don't necessarily want to be in, I will actively avoid listening to certain bands or listening to certain music because I don't want the two connected. I know 100% what you mean. Just a comment to me on Panzerfaust. I think one of the things that they've done so well with this quadrilogy is there is this spine that connects the albums musically, but thematically, I think they've done exceptionally well too. You know, if you take chapter one, I would say summarized by the word escalation. Chapter 2 is total war. You know, this is when the confrontation is taking place, because the whole theme of the records is kind of war over the ages. Chapter 3 is aftermath. It's sort of, you know, taking stock of the devastation that's been caused. And I had said when I was talking about chapter 3 when that came out that my prediction was that chapter 4 would kind of be you know, the almost sort of re-escalation, you know, things picking back up and the cycle continuing. Everything I'm picking up, and I'll confirm this with Brock when I speak to him, but everything that I'm picking up from the first 2 singles that they've put out is that is exactly the intent behind it thematically. I think I would definitely suggest you check it out, because I think it's an extraordinary body of work. And it'll be interesting to see where they go after this, because to me this is so definitive as far as their discography and their career is concerned. It's kind of hard to think as a band, you know, what you do after this.
That's a very interesting concept as well, and good on them for being able to commit to, what did you say, 4 albums, like 4 a concept.
Albums, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. And does it end? Is this the last one of their concept?
My understanding is this is the last one. Yeah, this is obviously impressive. Not the last Panzerfaust album, but in terms of this Sons of Perdition quadrilogy, this is the last. And, you know, just a final note on that, and then we'll move on to something else. One of the things I genuinely appreciate about them, and you get it when you speak to Brock as well, the lyrics that they've written for these records are so... It's incredibly thoughtful, and I don't always pay a huge amount of attention to lyrics, but when they're written the way that they're written here, you know, that definitely resonates with me. So if we check out this particular single, the first lines: "Flesh remembers, but time forgets. For the last survivors are the first for whom they came. What use is flesh without a skin to shed? What good is time absent, a dream to die? As God made them, as sin marred them, glory rejects them." I mean, it's fucking, you know, I love abstract lyrics. I love things that you can read and reread, and you will kind of interpret it in different ways depending on the angle that you're coming at it from. But yeah, love it. Absolutely fucking love it. To me, this is a definite contender for the number 1 spot of 2024. It's down to them and Neclease, basically. And I think it's going to be like when I you know, did the comparison between Primordial and Reem, I think it's going to come down to something like that. What is, you know, at what point does the personal elevate into the spiritual as far as your experience is concerned? And the problem is with both of them, I definitely have a deeper connection with both of those records than I do with a lot of other things.
Well, if they're the contenders for your number 1, then where's Olivia Rodrigo's album falling?
Mate, have I mentioned to you the hell I went through listening to the song Vampire with my daughter? You know, I try and be supportive and nice. I want her to love music, and she played me that shite. Oh God, fucking broke my heart, mate. I was like, I thought I would. I'd done a good job of training you when it came to movies. With music, I'd expose you to the very best. And this is the shit that you present to me as being good. So,
yeah, you've mentioned your disdain for that particular lady before, Olivia, but yeah, I don't know. I probably couldn't tell you any of her songs.
It's like having a fucking brick dropped on your foot repeatedly listening to it. One band that I know you absolutely love, Arch Enemy, have got a new single out. I feel like it wouldn't be a complete news rant without us at least listening to it. Liars and Thieves is the newest single by Arch Enemy. The song, which will be part of the band's forthcoming new record, Blood Dynasty, is due out on March the 28th, 2025 via Century Media Records, day after my birthday. And it is premiered online with accompanying music video. Brace yourself, young man. Thoughts?
Thoughts? I was thinking I'll be nice. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking personally, they're not my cup of tea. But in all honesty, musically, I think that the song wasn't too bad. Like the vocals were shithouse. The lyrics, from what I could understand, weren't great. But I don't know. The whole time I was listening to that, I was thinking if they had, let's say, a bath with good lyrics, singing where she's putting the vocals, it would sound fantastic. But nah, I think I'd rather shove a glass thermometer up my dick hole and then slam it in the car door than listen to more of this.
I didn't have as reflexive a hatred for it as you do, and I don't like this band. I've been pretty sharp in my criticism of both Arch Enemy and also Alyssa Whiteglass. Not so much for her vocal ability as I do her completely and utterly infantile political opinions, which she seems to always be asked about in interviews. I'm not. This is why I temper it, because she's in a position where morons from magazines or former magazines like Metal Hammer, Kerrang, stuff like that, are asking her these questions and gobbling up, everything that she dribbles out. So it's not necessarily her fault that she's, constantly quoted on these things. But I kind of need to disassociate that from her ability as a front woman and as a singer. I actually didn't think this was too terrible when it started. With that Iron Maiden ripoff riff at the beginning, I thought, oh god, this is going to be fucking awful. But actually, when the song started or properly kicked in, I thought it's not terrible. It's not. I mean, it's nothing great. I'm not going to, I'm certainly not going to be excited about anything other than my birthday around that time of the year. It's not an album I'm going to, Friday morning that it's released, be sitting there quivering with anticipation. But it's not entirely atrocious. I've heard a lot worse from this band than the track we just heard. The only thing that I would comment is quite interesting to me is the placing of the record on the album's on the sequencing of this song on the album. I just had a look now in Metal Archives. This is the last song on the record, and it doesn't feel to me like a good last song. I don't like last songs that are fast like this. Like if you take an example, we were talking about Slayer earlier. I thought the song Payback as a end track to God Hates Us All, dreadful idea. It's the same with say Metallica, Struggle Within. I mean, I actually quite like the Black Album, but the Struggle Within is a fucking terrible song to end off that record. I like a nice, epic ending, for an album. I don't like something that there's these kinds of songs that are written like this, and hopefully people can kind of feel, they can feel me knocking. They feel like an afterthought. It's like something that you just kind of tack on because, we had one song left. We need to make it 11 tracks or 12 tracks, so we're just going to throw this one in.
3 things. First thing, I agree. The last song of an album has to be a final. I think there's got to be there's almost like, and maybe it's just me, just from growing up and listening to the classic albums. The first song needs to be, first song of the album, straight out of the gate, blow your head off. And then the last song has to be like a slow burner, see you later, this is us, end on a hectic riff. I don't know, that's just how I feel. Second thing, I don't really understand this band Arch Enemy. Is their thing it's working for them, I guess. Is their thing to be like I don't even know what you'd call it, a heavy metal band, and just have some token sort of hot chick vocalist? I'm assuming that's their thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people like nerds be like, oh yeah, this is sick. She's hot as fuck. Blah, blah, blah. And, you know what I mean? And thirdly, you mentioning the on an album having the last song, has to be sort of an epic banger. Perfect example, Crowbar, self-titled album. They end with the song "I Have Failed." Perfection.
Oh, yeah, great,
perfection.
Great,
heavy as fuck. Perfect ending. See you later.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking when I'm talking about excellent songs to conclude an album with. We were talking about Marduk earlier. I didn't enjoy what's his name, and for some reason this fucking internet of mine is really slow now. But yeah, I didn't really like Victoria very much. However, I did think that Silent Night, which is the last song on that record, was phenomenal. I mean, it was such a great way to end off an album. And I mean, they've got a couple of moments like that as well. I think on Serpent Sermon, they finish off with World of Blades, which is also one of the most perfect ways to conclude an album. But that to me is a great bookend to a record. This song, I don't know what the rest of the record sounds like. As I said, it's not going to be something I'm particularly interested in listening to, but it just feels like it's that afterthought, that kind of tacked on fast song at the end. In terms of their gimmick, I mean, they started off as a melodic death metal album or death metal band. They had dude who vocaled for them. Obviously, then got in Angela Gosso. She was very popular, particularly amongst the Magic the Gathering players and the other social outcasts. And I think when she left the band, they felt that they needed to get someone in that was going to have a similar impact on their target market. Not to say that Alyssa's vocals aren't up to par, but I feel like there was certainly some of that came into their thinking.
I'll admit though, if you were, I don't know, introducing, say you had a niece or something that wanted to get into heavier music, that would be kind of a good gateway band, or like a young girl in high school or something, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's a girl doing it, so that's appealing, and the music's, kind of heavy, so you know what I mean? Like a nice segue into other sort of heavier music.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, again, when it comes to female vocalists in heavier music, spoken again at length about my views on Belinda from Johnny the Boy and Crippled Black Phoenix. But you also have Holder. I mean, I think the last Holder record is incredible. She's fucking amazing. And there's a fair few that come to mind that have actually put out albums recently.
Well, yeah, that entire band, I think it's pronounced Asa Grom.
Yeah.
Fantastic. They're an all-girl black metal band. And as like gimmicky as that sounds, musically, their albums are fucking ridiculous. It's like they're really good.
Agree. Okay, let's move on. Fleshbore are streaming a new song. It says here a brand new song by the US technical death metal band Fleshbore has been unveiled as part of the band's upcoming sophomore album, Painted Paradise. It's set to come out on January the 24th, 2025. Mixed and mastered by Jackson Ward. No idea what Fleshbore sounds like. I do, generally speaking, always give Transcending Obscurity releases the time of day, so let's hear what it sounds like. Fun fact for you, this band features the drumming of one Robin Stone. He of many band fame. I mean, he's been in Ashen Horde, live drummer for the Amenta. Obviously drummer on on Sick. Just a fucking absolute beast of a drummer. But musically, what are your thoughts on this?
Not for me. Yeah, not for me at all. I don't know. I just saw technical death metal. I was like, okay, that's a tick in the shit pile. I saw the artwork for this thing. It looks like I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at here. Looks like a finger painting, or it reminds me of the Ghost of Tsushima, like I'm chasing the wind. But this is not for me. Not for me. Like if I want to listen to technical sort of death metal, like where all the people involved at the top of their game, I will listen to, like Nile, like old Nile or something, or I wouldn't even say that. I don't even know if that's technical death metal, but I don't know. Compare this to say Ruination or what was it? Demonocracy, the Job for a Cowboy albums. You know what I mean? Like, I think the vocals was a real damper as well.
You know what I was reflecting on as I'm listening to this? This is one of the main reasons I dislike a lot of modern technical death metal is it lacks soul. You know, when the old heads are talking about how the reason they only listen to the first Deicide record or the first 3 Deicide records and like the first 3 Morbid Angel records and everything else is basically trash. I get where they're coming from, and to me this band absolutely exemplifies that. There is nothing malevolent about this. It's incredibly heavy, but I've used the phrase before, and it really applies here, all show and no go. You can be as heavy as you want. You can be as, your vocals can be as brutal and as scathing as you want it to be, but it lacks the appropriate amount of fire. And if I compare them to Into the Necrosphere favorite in Werewolves is the complete antithesis of that. It embodies old school values. It's written by guys that have a deep love for the old school. They just happen to be incredibly gifted musicians, Matt in particular, and so thus the riffing can be seen as technical because they're also classed as technical death metal. But they have that fire, that real convincing aggression and abrasiveness that a band like this just totally lacks.
I think as well, like what you said the other week with Carl about deathcore or whatever it was, they write, real heavy stuff, and their vocals are real deep, and they're just trying too hard. Like they're trying to sound like they're angry, but they're not. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It sounds like it's like I was saying about Undeath. Their new record sounds like death metal produced by people that are basically too happy to be making that kind of music.
They're more concerned with like however many people like their photos rather than being generally pissed off at something that deserves merit.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. All right. We'll do one more song and then we'll have a quick skim over Blabbermouth. But you can have your pick on this one. We've got a brand new music video that we could listen to by one of, I know, your personal favorites, Striper. Or we could hear the new Darkane single. So your pick. There are many rooting for you to say Striper.
Striper, I've never actually heard before.
Really?
Yeah. So, with a song name of "Betrayed by Love," let's take a deep dive, shall we?
All right. Right. I think I best pause before everyone drops off listening to this episode. But what are your thoughts, sir?
I thought I was watching an episode of Bold and the Beautiful. Honestly, that film clip was fucking hectic.
Yeah.
The thing that shit me off the most, all right, was, so I don't know what it was, but that random, if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that random fist that just punches through the glass. The thing that bothers me the most is he didn't make a correct fist when he was throwing the punch. His thumb was in front, so he would have broken his thumb no matter what. And apart from that, that was poo. That wasn't good. That was poo. Sorry, everyone.
Here's a no. I 100% think that most people agree with you. But here's something that's interesting. How many listeners do you think these guys get monthly on Spotify?
I don't.
And I bring this up, by the way, because I whenever I see an article about Striper, which seems to be relatively frequent on Metal Storm for some bizarre reason, I kind of look at it and go, like, isn't this just a band that everyone sort of thinks is a joke and we forget about it? But apparently no, because they have got 252,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I mean, those aren't Metallica numbers. But considering who this band is, I'm quite surprised by that. Maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, I know there's some Christian metalers out there that they need to get their groove on somehow, and obviously Legion is not going to be the album for them, for them. But yeah, I don't know. I was very surprised to see that. I also looked on Facebook; they've got a pretty sizable following, 371,000 followers. Why people like them so much, I've got no idea, because it's absolutely atrocious music. There's no doubt about that.
I reckon they're one of those bands where, like, they would go to, like, Saudi Arabia and just play in front of 100,000 people, and people just love it. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's different, and no one goes to Saudi Arabia to play heavy metal. So I don't know. But
Cryptopsy was there, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were the first. So they actually beat Metallica to the punch. I spoke about it to Necrobutcher earlier on this episode. They beat Metallica to the punch because Metallica played in Saudi Arabia. But I think 2 weeks before or a week before that show was due to happen, it was Cryptopsy that did it.
Yeah, cool. Beat us.
Okay, anyway, let's move on to one last thing that I wanted to talk about before we go to Blabbermouth. Acid Bath have announced a reunion show. Folks who listen to the podcast may remember that I spoke at length to Sammy Dewey of Acid Bath and Goat Whore about Acid Bath and them getting back together. And at the time, I think he wasn't quite sure as to whether or not that was going to happen. Those episodes, just so everyone knows, is episode 102 and 151. But I am fucking delighted that this has come to pass. Not something that I thought would happen, but I'm fucking very, very glad that it did. And the other good news is that Dax Riggs from Acid Bath has put out some new music, which we'll listen to in just a second. But question for you, because you're a fan of the New Orleans sound. I know you're certainly a fan of Crowbar. Do you like Acid Bath? Are you familiar with their stuff? Are you excited about the reunion?
I couldn't really tell you anything about them. I don't think I've listened to them. I'm a big fan of Goat Whore, of course. They're really good. And you were saying, is there a member of Goat Whore in this band?
Yeah, Sammy Dewey is in the band.
Okay.
My friend, you are about to have your day made, because straight after this, I implore you to go check out an album called When the Kite String Pops by Acid Bath, and you will 100% thank me for it. I am as sure as anything that you're going to think this is fantastic.
Well, I am a fan of baths and acid, so let's give it a whirl.
All right. So it says here, probably one of the least expected news, but very much true. The legendary 90s sludge metal band Acid Bath have confirmed that they are making their return to the stage in Las Vegas next April as part of the Sick New World Festival. It'll be their first show in nearly 3 decades. Additionally, the band's vocalist Dax Riggs also announces the release of his new solo album dubbed 7 Songs for Spiders. That's going to be released on January the 24th, 2025 through Fat Possum Records. Dax comments on the show announcement, the Bath will return on April the 12th, 2025 at the Sick New World Festival. Our heads are literally exploding. We'll be playing select songs from our 2 full-length LPs for this special one-time show. See you there, fiends. Let the blackness roll on. Sammy Dewey, Dax Riggs, and Mike Sanchez, a.k.a. Acid Bath. I hope that this isn't a one-off, but we'll see. Anyway, let's hear what this Dax Riggs track sounds like.
She said, maybe I'm a demon, but you just don't see me. And I said, maybe you know Jesus, but I just can't believe it. I laid in the coffin and I closed the lid. I don't know where I am, and the darkness began. I laid it in the coffin and closed the lid. I don't know why I do what I do, but I did. I just don't know where I am, and the darkness began.
So I will say this before I let you give your opinion. This is that what you just heard. There are whiffs of Acid Bath in there, but Acid Bath is a heavy band. I mean, this isn't heavy. This is kind of like there's something about this, weirdly enough, that reminds me a lot of Mark Lanegan, and I'm a very, very big Mark Lanegan fan. So, I mean, that probably gives away my thoughts on the song. But as a neophyte to probably both Dax Riggs and Acid Bath, what were your first impressions of that?
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as our dear mutual friend Carl on his thoughts on hippies. Not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's got to be when I say I like Doom, I guess. I prefer like the band Dope Throne. You know, where they're more towards the metal side, like the heavier side.
Yeah.
And like Bong Ripper and stuff. But yeah, nah, this isn't my cup of tea.
I think do me a favor and listen to When the Kite String Pops. You're only going to be able to find it on YouTube because I don't think it's on Spotify. There's a whole big issue with the rights to that record, and it's very difficult to get hold of. But you should be able to get it on YouTube. If you listen to that and you like it, I suspect that might be a gateway into at least seeing where I'm coming from with this. I wouldn't call this hippie music. I think this is kind of like, this feels like sort of post-punk blues almost. But I really like it. I think it's got a very cool vibe. I like Dax's voice. I always have. And I'm very curious to hear what the rest of the record sounds like. But I can see why you might not necessarily warm to it straight away.
Like when it comes to like the slow doom sort of stuff, like Conan is a perfect example. Like I like the, you know, it's more on the metal side rather than the, you know, we do nothing but eat mushrooms and smoke weed. Yeah. I don't know, just personally, that's my sort of cup of tea.
Are you a fan of Electric Wizard?
Not so much that I remember them. The name rings a bell. I am a big fan of what is it? Acid Witch. Yet another female fronted heavy band. But they sort of fall on the line of the sort of hippie sort of style. But yeah, I don't mind them. I think they're really good.
Here's another recommendation for you that I think you might quite enjoy. Black Masses by Electric Wizard. It's an album that they put out in 2010. Very raw, incredibly atmospheric, real fantastic album. I mean, I know for a lot of people, Dope Throne is kind of the definitive Electric Wizard record, and a lot of people really like Let Us Pray. But Black Masses to me there's just something about that album. I mean, we were talking about timing, and when an album lands, that just landed with me at the exact right time. I think it's superb.
All right, I'll check it out for sure.
Check it out and let me know what you think.
It's probably something I've heard already. It's just, you know how like with doom bands, they all sort of, with their names, they all sort of blend together. It's either acid or dope or weed in their band names. And yeah, so I've probably heard it. I just can't, think about it at the moment.
Yeah. So we probably just got time for one more article, and I wanted to go to Blabmouth to talk specifically about this because I had seen this pop up on my newsfeed this morning. Cannibal Corpse's Eric Rutan says that 90% of everything we own was either severely damaged or completely destroyed, and he's of course referring to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, which hit in St. Petersburg, Florida, where he lives. I mean, just absolutely tragic news. It says here, Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 storm and is one of the deadliest hurricanes in the United States for the past 50 years. Category 3, Hurricane Milton, directly targeted the Sarasota area just south of Tampa Bay, bringing high winds and torrential rain to the Tampa Bay area while making landfall 75 miles south in the Siesta Key. Rutan, who left Cannibal Corpse's European tour on September the 28th to be with his wife, took to his social media to write, "We are so grateful for all the love and support that has come our way. The positive words, messages, texts, and phone calls have meant so much to us. We feel so blessed to know that so many people care." Hurricane Helene and Milton decimated so many homes and lives, and tours was one of them. Sorry, and ours was one of them. 90% of everything we own, Sorry, I'm going to reread that shit. Hurricane Helene and Milton decimated so many homes and lives, and ours was one of them. 90% of everything we own, including personal and family belongings, photos, things that can never be replaced, as well as musical and studio gear, was either severely damaged or completely destroyed. Yeah, man, very, very rough. Not just for him, but everybody in that part of the world. And I know that includes potentially people that listen to the podcast based on how many people from the US actually tune in every week. So I mentioned this when I was talking to Cheyenne and sending my condolences and my my support and my whatever positive vibes I can send across the pond to people. I'll just echo that again. If you've been hit by this, I cannot begin to articulate how sorry I am. From all the footage I've seen, it's absolutely devastating.
Yeah, I've seen some shit on the news and on social media, and yeah, it looks like complete devastation and destruction. Like I saw a lot of footage of, like before and after sort of photos, and it's just a completely different scenario. Like houses just gone, roads completely gone. It just looks like a nuclear bomb sort of went off.
And he makes the point around things that can never be replaced. Can you imagine the catalog of memorabilia, merchandise, heirlooms, and stuff that Rutan actually had, given everybody that he's worked with? And at the end of the day, that's not the most important thing. That's just stuff at the end of the day. But when along with everything else, your livelihood, your home, everything like that, it goes. I mean, that's just it's and for anyone who's not been on the experiencing end of that, it's incomprehensible.
As well, like he's I'm assuming that's where he lives, so that's where his studio is as well. Yeah. Cannibal Corpse recorded there, Deicide, heaps of well-known bands traveled to him to record. And that's probably all fucked up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you just hope that the insurance companies play a straight bat, although in my experience that probably won't be the case. I had semi-direct experience with how difficult insurance companies can be about giving you what you're owed. When my ex-wife's house, basically half the house burned down. And it took to conclude the whole fiasco nearly a year. And it's unreal what they try and weasel their way out of. You have insurance. You think it's there for a purpose, but at the end of the day, they will do anything and everything possible not to pay you, 5 cents.
Oh yeah, they're scum of the earth, of course. Them and lawyers. Yeah. They should all just be taken out back and beaten to death. But you'd be fucked if you didn't have it. So
exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly. All right, folks. Well, on that note, I'm going to wrap up. Drugoth, thank you very much for your time. I also want to say thank you once again to my guest this week, Necrobutcher. Make sure you check out Mayhem on the 40th anniversary tour, rolling through select cities in North America. I'm back next week. My guest is going to be Simon Lucas of Winterfilleth. And I will sign off, as always, by saying that whatever it is that you are doing and wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next week.